bakabusi nengre mine pele obiama mina bakabusi nengre me fele sama
mina bakabusi nengre mine pele obiama mina bakabusi nengre me pele sama
mina bakabusi nengre mine pele obiama mina bakabusi nengre me fele sama
mina bakabusi nengre mine pele obiama mina bakabusi nengre me pele sama
mina bakabusi nengre mine pele obiama mina bakabusi nengre me fele sama
mina bakabusi nengre mine pele obiama mina bakabusi nengre me pele sama
mina bakabusi nengre mine pele obiama mina bakabusi nengre me fele sama
mina bakabusi nengre mine pele obiama mina bakabusi nengre me pele sama
mina bakabusi nengre mine pele obiama mina bakabusi nengre me fele sama
mina bakabusi nengre mine pele obiama mina bakabusi nengre me pele sama
mina bakabusi nengre mine pele obiama mina bakabusi nengre me fele sama
mina bakabusi nengre mine pele obiama mina bakabusi nengre me pele sama
ayo me fele sama
me pele sama
mama me fele sama
me pele sama
isa me fele sama
me pele sama
ay mama me fele sama
me pele sama
brada me fele sama
me pele sama me pele sama me pele sama me pele sama me pele sama me pele sama
mina bakabusi nengre mine pele obiama mina bakabusi nengre me fele sama
mina bakabusi nengre mine pele obiama mina bakabusi nengre me pele sama
mina bakabusi nengre mine pele obiama mina bakabusi nengre me fele sama
mina bakabusi nengre mine pele obiama mina bakabusi nengre me pele sama
mina bakabusi nengre mine pele obiama mina bakabusi nengre me fele sama
mina bakabusi nengre mine pele obiama mina bakabusi nengre me pele sama
ayo me fele sama
me pele sama
mama me fele sama
me pele sama
isa me fele sama
me pele sama
mama me fele sama
me pele sama
me fele sama
me pele sama
mina bakabusi nengre mine pele obiama mina bakabusi nengre me fele sama ayo
mina bakabusi nengre mine pele obiama mina bakabusi nengre me pele sama
ayo me fele sama
me pele sama
mama me fele sama
me pele sama
isa me fele sama
me pele sama
mama me fele sama
me pele sama
mama me fele sama
me pele sama
isa me fele sama
me pele sama
Fire burn them dirty king, blaze up them dirty king, fire burn them king. Send him disastrous, and time he fast with us, ancestors walk with us. 'Cause us. Fire burn them king. 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 Fire burn
that, we must push, all of us, is this fundamental question of the global nature of our African identities. That we stop, to see ourselves as Nigerians and Gabonese and, Ghanaians and Congolese and all these other nonsensical identities that we have. But not just that we talk about them like we're talking now, but that it's actually, embedded in our spirits, in our psyche, and in our approach to our work. Because those of you, who are on the continent know that we face, this crisis of religion, this crisis of ethnicism that is tearing us apart. And the only solution to that is going to, to start to address things and see things as a global body. And that when we speak of a Federation of African States, we're not just referring to us on the continent, but that we are coming to the table with all of our power. And our power means the millions of Africans in the diaspora. That there's that clarity of understanding. So it's not something we just talk about or we preach about, but that we actually begin to implement.
Tender moi, they be thankful unto the Mother, Father, creative life force of the universe. Kudzai muzimu mukuru. Your praises unto our great ancestors. Abibi Tumi, Abibi Fahodi, African power and African liberation for all African people. Greetings and welcome, family. You know what I'm saying? We're back here for another ZIVANAYI. And for those who may not be aware, ZIVANAYI is a weekly program hosted by myself for the benefit of our gotkushTV viewers. And yeah, it's just an open house, really and truly. And sometimes we have some prescribed topics, which we did for the majority, if not all, of last month, because last month is Black History Month as observed in the UK. And so I want to thank all those who joined us here for our Black History Month programming, whether it was for our live broadcast where we were addressing issues to do with the Grenada Revolution, and also the current uprisings and coups that we hope are going to become revolutions, or should I say rebellions that we hope are going to become revolutions in West Africa today. Special shout out to all of those guests who joined us, and in particular I want to send a special shout out to Sister Kushti, Empress Kushti, who joined us last week and the week before to co-host and present, brothers and sisters. And in particular last week's show, because me and Sister Kushti were questioning a powerful panel of guests about the situation in West Africa, and it was a powerful show. A lot of information was presented, and so if you're new to the topic, watch both shows, because in the first show, Sister Kushti kind of broke down some of the information that you're gonna need. All right, but if you feel like you got some information on it already, feel free to just check out last week's show. As me and Sister Kushti question our guests and interrogate their points and so on and so forth. It was good, and a situation that we're going to be paying more and more attention to. I want to encourage ones and ones as you come through to like up the video. Oh, I should also say that was whether it was our live shows or our Black History Month series, Sankofa, the future of Black history. And yeah, man, big up to everyone who joined us for that series. It was a powerful series, and we're gonna make that available to those who have joined our Patreon soon. So stay tuned for that. We're gonna give exclusive access to our Patreon family to those presentations from Robin Walker, myself, Sister Aya Eneli, and Brother Asa Imhotep. It was a powerful series. So we're gonna those who are supporting us via Patreon, we appreciate you, and we're going to be making those presentations available to you very soon. All right, I've been updating the Patreon recently, and having said that, for brothers and sisters who want to support gotkushTV as it stands right about now, please do so. Please do so by checking out our Patreon and making a monthly or even a one-off contribution. Yeah, everything blessed, everything blessed, everything blessed. But we intend to grow as a media platform, and we have to acquire many resources to get to where we want to get to. Okay, and so we're growing slowly but surely, and so there's no perks on the Patreon at the moment. If you join the Patreon right now, you're just doing it for the love. And I guess, well, not that I guess, those perks, yeah, especially for those who just join, just doing it for the love right about now. When we do start to add perks, you'll get them. And as long as we are adding perks and so on to our Patreon, we will make sure that you are specially taken care of, because right now you're just doing it for the love, and we appreciate that. But as I've said, very soon, the exclusive footage from our Black History Month series of 2023 will be made available to the item. All right, so give thanks. You can check it out right there. So there is also a link in the description to our Telegram channel. Yeah, and that's where we send our good notifications. Okay, you know, so when you're upon them social media, yeah, the algorithm sometimes dictates who sees it, what they see, and so on and so forth. So if you want to make sure that you get all your gotkushTV information, I encourage you to join our Telegram channel. Yeah, that's the best place to go to receive all of your gotkushTV updates. But as well, I'm going to be starting to just post Pan-African news, yeah, in there periodically as well, just so we can stay in tune with what is happening in the Black world. All right, so feel free to join the Telegram group for those purposes also. The link to join the conversation is pinned to the top of the chat if you are watching via directly on gotkushTV. So I'm multi-streaming to various platforms at the moment. So in the description, you will see a link that says watch via gotkushTV. And when you come there, so you will find the link to join the conversation. Yes. Pinned to the top of the chat. So for those who are not familiar with ZIVANAYI, it's open house. I open the conversation with some thoughts and observations from the past week, and brothers and sisters, and feel free to join me and either contribute to the observations that I have shared and or bring their own talking points. So once again, as you come through, please like up the video, family, and also share the link. Yeah, share the link far and wide. Let the people them know that ShakaRa is live on gotkushTV. ZIVANAYI is in session, and ZIVANAYI is a beautiful word spoken in the Shona language of Zimbabwe. And it simply means let us get to know each other. All right, it's about social relationship and all of these things. Okay, exchanges and all of these things. Okay, so because I've been doing properly defined scheduled programming for most of the better part of a month or so, plenty things are going on in the world that I have not really commented on, and I won't get through all of them today, but some serious things are going on in the world, and if I don't raise them, I'm sure some of you will raise them. Yeah. Having said that, do check out the Universal African Nationalist Perspective on the Gaza-Israel conflict, and some might say genocide in process at the moment. That is on our channel right about now. Yeah. Some important analysis is there. No doubt we'll be coming back to that from a Pan-African perspective in the future. And I may touch on some dynamics, because what I'm very most interested in relation to that subject is the media and how the media has been propagandizing around this particular conflict. Yeah, and I think there's a lot of lessons that we can learn about geopolitics, economics, and power. Yes, when we observe the way the media operates, what narratives are given legitimacy and what narratives are not given legitimacy, what narratives are constantly pushed versus what narratives are subdued, and how those narratives are designed to meet certain geopolitical and economic ends, I think is something that we need to pay serious attention to as African people. Whereas I don't believe it's whereas I think that we should have an analysis and a position on this particular conflict. One might say that it is not our direct fight, and one will be correct if one said this. But in spite of that fact, as Papa Garvey teaches us, we must pay attention to what is happening in the world. Hear all, but attend only to that which concerns you. All right. And so, yeah, another subject for another time. But what I want to really focus on today, as far as what me I bring to the table, is the fact that me live in a place, yeah, in the confines of a nation state called the United Kingdom of Great Britain. By the way, I always forget to do this here, so let me do this now. I said big up everybody where I type in the chat, and so far we have set Imhotep, big up yourself, King Kill, and Meloman. Big up yourself, Meloman. You don't know, more Pan-Africanism indeed. For those who are, locked on, feel free to use the chat feature, and may always love to know where I listen from. Yeah, so you can type where I listen from if you want to know. All right, give thanks. Yeah, okay. So yeah, I live in a country, a colonizer nation, a European Western imperialist white supremacist bastion called the United Kingdom of Great Britain, and it is a constitutional monarchy. It is a nation whose pinnacle institution is referred to as the crown, aka the firm, aka a corporation soul, aka the monarchy, the royal family, etc., etc., etc. And the head of this particular institution, who is the ceremonial head, the monarch of the United Kingdom of Great Britain, recently traveled to the East African nation of Kenya. Yes, Kenya. Very, very important place as far as the British is concerned in general, but also the firm, the royal family, the monarchy of this country. They have some serious relationships with Kenya, not only as a result of their business dealings associated with their colonial exploits, but for some reason it's a place that has a lot of significance for the last few generations of this family on a personal level. The previous monarch, Elizabeth of Windsor, when she became monarch, happened to be on colonial visit to her colonial property in Kenya in 1952, when her father kicked the bucket and she found out that she had become the queen, the queen of the United Kingdom of Great Britain. Okay. Interestingly enough, 1952 was also the year that our elders, some now ancestors in Kenya, started a rebellion, a revolution in progress under the auspices of the Kenya Land and Freedom Army, which became popularly known as the Mau Mau. Okay. And so Elizabeth, yes, presided over the British government and its armed forces response to the Kenya Land and Freedom Army rising up and picking up arms against the British monarchy and its institutions in their colonization, theft, robbery, pillaging, and rape of our people in Kenya. And for fighting for our freedom in Kenya, the British waged a brutal reign of terror upon our elders and ancestors. And so when Charles goes to Kenya, he makes reference to this, and this is all a part of the monarchy of Great Britain engaging in its public relations exercises, trying to clean up and soften its image, because many people see it for what it is, as the colonial colonizer institution criminal institution that it is. And so, you know, they've been engaging in some form of PR in recent years to try and, you know, clean up them image. Yeah. And so, you know, this is part of the process. And so I'm going to play a little piece of what Charles had to say and give a perspective. We're going to look upon how the British media was covering the Mau Mau situation in 1952 and 1953. And we're going to look upon what has happened since then and how that affects us today. And then we're going to open up the lines them. All right. So bear with I. All right. We're going to go through some things today and see how the thing go. All right. So first of all, let's play Charles himself. Yeah. Let's hear what Charles has to say for himself. Yeah. When him go to Kenya. Go well in Kenya. Oh man. All on there, kings and queens. Grant access to location. Yeah, the laymen are going right now, kings and queens. All right. So all on there. I'm gonna sort out the thing. Yeah. Sorry, we have some new technology. And some settings are not. Okay. All right. So we see the thing go now. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. We should be able to do it now. Hold on there. We're getting there. We're getting there. Let's make sure. Let me make sure. All right, family. I believe you can see my screen. Can somebody give me a signal? Make sure you can see my screen, please. Yeah. Before we go any further, because I don't want, you know what I mean? All right, good. Okay, so everybody can see my screen now. All right, so let's hear what Charles has to say for himself. Yeah, and then we're gonna break down some language today. Yeah, all right, hold on there.
It is the intimacy of our shared history that has brought our people together. However, we must also acknowledge.
So no, it's that them language there, yeah. The intimacy, yes, of our shared history. All right. I'm not mention the fact that the shared history is based upon colonialism, robbery, yeah, theft, pillaging, and rape, and all them things there. All right. Okay. So the intimacy of our shared this is the euphemisms, yeah. But then
the most painful together. However, we must also acknowledge the most painful times of our long and complex relationship. The wrongdoings of the past are a cause of the greatest sorrow.
So notice here the language here, all right? So we're talking about the complexities. Yeah, let me pull up what I'm saying again. Let's notice the language here.
The wrongdoings of the past and complex must also acknowledge the most painful times of our long and complex relationship.
All right, so the most painful times of our long and complex relationship, yes? You might talk like, say, you know, you're there in a relationship for a little while and you argue with your spouse and you got through some tough time, you know what I'm saying, yeah? It's like, imagine you're somebody who's suffering and a victim of domestic violence. Yes, and and the perpetrator of this particular criminal act says, yes, we must acknowledge the painful and complex times, yes, of our relationship, right? This is how he's talking, okay? So this is a very political statement designed as a PR stunt to reference something without giving proper expression to the gravity of what he's referring to. Okay, bear that in mind. All right.
The wrongdoings of the past are a cause of the greatest sorrow and the deepest regret.
The wrongdoings, what wrongdoings, by who, and in pursuit of what? All this abstract talk, the wrongdoings, yeah. You know what I'm saying? All right, listen.
There were abhorrent and unjustifiable acts of violence committed against Kenyans as they waged, as you said at the United Nations, a painful struggle for independence.
So there were horrific acts committed against Kenyans. Notice he didn't say crimes. Okay?
And sovereignty. And for that, there can be no excuse. In coming back to Kenya, it matters greatly to me that I should deepen my own understanding of these wrongs, and that I meet some of those whose lives and communities were so grievously affected.
So again, grievously, horrific, yeah, wrongs, all right? But he's not speaking in terms of crimes, atrocities, yeah? All right? This is all very deliberate language. This is why I'm highlighting it, yeah? Him not just talk off the top of him head. Remember, the speech well prepared. All right?
None of this can change the past, but by addressing our history with honesty and openness, we can perhaps demonstrate the strength of our friendship today. And in so doing, we can, I hope, continue to build an ever closer bond for the years ahead. As Jomo Kenyatta said, our children may learn about the heroes of the past. Our task is to make ourselves the architects of the future. Mr. President, in returning to Kenya, I've been struck by the many ways in which our country.
I'm gonna play a couple minutes more here, but I want to point out the fact that when he says sorrow and regret again, this is political language designed to stave off any possible legal pursuits, yes, triggering any processes within the context of international law. So to express sorrow and regret is to stop short of granting apology, which in international law, which if you watch the breakdown, the Universal African Nationalist breakdown of the Gaza, Israel, quote unquote, conflict, we will note the context in which international law developed, who developed it, and in whose interest it was developed. Okay, but within international law, formal apologies means admissions of guilt, which means the guilty party is responsible for making amends in the form of reparations, compensation, or otherwise. Yeah. And so the statement that he has just made in that little brief acknowledgement of the colonial history is an act in chicanery and deception, so that we get caught up in the flowery language of, you know, horrors, yeah, painful wrongs, okay, right? But in geopolitics, this language has political and legal ramifications. Yes, it's very deliberate. It's the same thing that former Prime Minister Tony Blair engaged in when in 2007, to acknowledge the so-called bicentenary of the abolition of the so-called slave trade, he offered a statement of regret. I believe this was in the Voice newspaper. Yeah, at the time. Statement of regret, not an apology, because the political jargon must stop short of formal apology so as not to admit culpability for a crime. Bear this in mind. Bear in mind that this is the 1950s that he's referring to. And we're going to go into details about what he's referring to. But the only point I want to make at this point is the fact that this is, by this point, the frameworks that govern international law in terms of Geneva Convention, war crimes, etc., are already formulated and in place. And Britain is a leading light in enforcing these standards of human rights on the world. Bear this in mind, yeah. I'm just gonna play it right to when I want to finish it, because there's an important point that he's gonna make.
The country's relationship is now closer than ever. It is a modern partnership of equals facing today's challenges and looking to the many opportunities that together we can seize. Whether by using the King's Cross regeneration as a model for the Nairobi railway city, or by learning from Kenya how the blue economy can really work for local communities. All of you here this evening and across our countries deserve our gratitude for your ceaseless work to realize our joint ambitions. Our people's security is a paramount concern. It is fitting then that Kenya's first Marine Commando Unit was established earlier this year, trained by British Royal Marines.
Sorry, I was on mute, kings and queens. Listen to them where the man just said a while ago. Yeah, him say Kenya's first Marine unit was inaugurated this year, trained by who? British Marines. Yeah. One day we have to do a whole show, about AFRICOM and the American military bases all over the African continent. All right. But the focus on America's military relationship with Mama Africa and the Caribbean can sometimes lead us to take our eye off the ball of Britain's military relationship. Yeah. Member say, a Kenya right here now where I prepare for send 1,000 man to go to Haiti as funded by America right here now. Yes, as a part of a military intervention under the auspices of the United Nations, funded by the American government. Yeah. All right. Enough things are going on in the world, All right. So we're done with Charles' statement today. Yeah. But this leads us to have to look into, yes, exactly what he's referring to about the wrongs. Yes. And as I've already said, in 1952, our ancestors in Kenya, yes, big up to Field Marshal Dedan Kimathi and all of the freedom fighters of the Kenya Land and Freedom Army, picked up arms and waged a war against British colonialism as it relates to Kenya. And the reprisal was brutal, okay? And what we are going to do is just explore some of the ways in which the British media characterized the so-called Mau Mau at the time. Then we're going to look at how they tried to cover up their crimes, yeah? What crimes they committed, how they tried to cover up those crimes, and then I'm going to open up the lines, all right? And so we're going to take in two clips here, yeah? And listen to the language, yeah? Listen to the language that they use in these clips, okay? And ask yourself if this language just sounds familiar, all right? Ask yourself if this language just sounds familiar. Very important that when we're looking at the media and the role that it plays, how it characterizes and the language that it uses against those who rise up against Western imperialism, okay, and colonization. And listen to this.
In Nairobi, capital of Kenya, Europeans and Africans still walk the streets in fear of the dreaded Mau Mau. For it is that band of fanatics whose bloody deeds have cast a dark shadow across the face of Kenya.
So the Mau Mau are a band of fanatics who are committing bloody deeds, yes, across Kenya and scaring the Europeans and the Africans, okay? There is no conversation here about colonization and the fact that the Africans are actually, in fact, fighting the criminal colonizer in Kenya who has massacred Africans and stolen African land from African people and is waxing himself rich off of the land, particularly in terms of crops such as coffee. That was big in Kenya. I believe they were dealing with tobacco there as well. And possibly flour, the flour industry, which I know was also big in Zimbabwe. All right. But particularly, one of the major things coming out of Kenya at this time was coffee. And Britain, so companies like Kenco, Kenco, Kenya Coffee. All right. There's the thing there. Yeah. Okay. So let's listen to the language now.
A week ago, the people of Kenya read of the death of Chief Nderi, murdered by terrorists. And now, as they watch the funeral of this wise and peaceful chieftain, they wonder where next will the Mau Mau strike. Troops are in the streets of Nairobi. Sir Evelyn Baring, the governor, salutes the men of the Lancashire Fusiliers who have flown in to help clear his colony of the Mau Mau menace, which has struck fear into Kenya's very heart. Nairobi police have been supplemented by hundreds of civilians, many of them women, to help round up the Mau Mau bandits. Radio-controlled cars with armored vehicles are used to carry out the army's plans for bringing in all suspects. More than 3,500 have been arrested already. All have to be carefully checked by police security men, for in such a decisive swoop as this, it is all too easy for the innocent to suffer. The objective of this secret society is to drive all white men out of Kenya. Not only fanatics fill the ranks of the Mau Mau, many have joined from fear. Day after day, hour after hour, lorries bearing police and troops drive away from the capital and head for the country. Along twisting roads, they travel deeper, ever deeper into the heart of the African jungle. For here, many of the Mau Mau are hiding. Overhead, aircraft join in the search. All who carry the mark of the Mau Mau must be hunted out so that peace may come to this troubled colony.
All right, so once again, I hope you're praying the language, kings and queens. Yeah, we're not gonna stop long on this one. Yeah, we're gonna move on to our next clip. Couple minutes, yeah, and then so we can just touch and move. All right, and come back here. But just take note of the language. Yeah, the criminal colonizer is vexed that the African wants to drive the white man, the criminal colonizer white man, from his land. And so because of the colonial order, the act of fighting for African liberation is considered a crime. Yes, that is punishable. Okay. And so the Mau Mau, the Kenya Land and Freedom Army, had to be depicted as barbaric, bloodthirsty savages. Yes, disturbing the good colonial peace of the civilized white man. Okay. This is what's taking place right about now. We're gonna take one more clip, and notice in that clip, yeah, he spoke about fighting the Mau Mau in order to protect the innocent, or worse to that effect. You know, check out this particular clip.
Cathay News cameraman Bill McConville has been assigned to cover the news in the Kikuyu country, and this is his first report. I boarded a BOAC Hermes aircraft at London Airport only a few days ago to fly to Nairobi. I don't mind admitting I had pretty mixed feelings. The journey out was uneventful. A little girl played in the gangway. From the pilot came the report, all well, dead on course. A mining engineer, Rodney Baker, his wife and their month-old baby were going out to make their home in Kenya. Then suddenly we got our first glimpse of the wild mountainous land of the Kikuyu. Major Fullager and his family took it all calmly. So did young George Good, who'd been on leave in England. Then Nairobi was below. BOAC had brought us to the heart of the Mau Mau territory in only 16 hours. The armed police soon showed us that the newspapers weren't exaggerating. You could feel the tension as soon as you set foot in the place. So this was Nairobi, the city of suspense, someone called it. It wasn't long before I saw why. Mau Mau suspects were being checked prior to interrogation. All were members of the Kikuyu, the tribe which has suffered most from the Mau Mau. Despite the fear that is in the hearts of all in Nairobi, they still go about their work as usual. But a loaded revolver in a man's or woman's belt told me just how great was that peril, and brought home to me for the first time the truth of those terrible stories of violence and sudden death. On the outskirts of Nairobi, I came across the Seven family. Brian, his sister Susan, and Mrs. Jones Seven. A gun was by her side as she read them a bedtime story. The next day at Karibanchi, I filmed a large-scale roundup of men suspected of being involved in murdering 150 people in what they now call the Lari Massacre. I asked some of the officers about their job. They told me their chief problem was that so many Africans were reluctant to talk for fear of the Mau Mau's revenge. For even one of their own tribe may well be a member of the gang. A black cloud of suspicion hangs over all in Kenya, and until the Mau Mau are destroyed, the innocent too must suffer.
Until the Mau Mau are destroyed, the innocent too must suffer. And that's the thing there. All right. So bear all of these things in mind. So we get the characterization of the Mau Mau fighting against British colonialism. And what they began to do was seize back land that the British had stolen. They began to attack British so-called officials, company men, property of corporations, and so on and so forth. Okay, and so the colonial authority and the British state had to organize themselves to protect the quote-unquote private property of these criminal colonizers. All right, and their families and so on and so forth. Yeah. Now, one of the factors that is not often taken into consideration is the fact that a significant amount of the manpower that was used by the British came from other Africans, yeah, in the army and the police force and so on and so forth. Okay, that's a factor that we also have to take into consideration. All right, but I'm going to read a piece here from this book. All right, it's called Mau Mau from Within. All right, Mau Mau from Within, the story of the Kenya Land and Freedom Army, by Donald L. Barnett and Karadi Njama. Yes, with contributions from a number of others, including Ngugi wa Thiong'o. All right, and there's a couple paragraphs which talk about from the voices of people that were members of the Kenya Land and Freedom Army in terms of what went on when they began to fight for their freedom. Okay, and all the book reads. This is, by the way, this is page 177. If you have the new and expanded edition. Okay, all the Kenya Europeans were mobilized to strengthen the Kenya regiment. With their arrival in the reserves, the brutality of shooting civilians in cold blood increased. Their motto was, "The only good Kikuyu is a dead one." I did forget to mention, for those who are not aware, the Kikuyu is the most populous people group, yeah, quote unquote ethnicity in Kenya, and made up the majority of the Mau Mau forces. So the majority of the Mau Mau came from the Kikuyu people group. Not exclusively, but majority, yes. And so, in particular, the British began to attack the Kikuyu people because to a significant degree, even those who are not members of the Kenya Land and Freedom Army, as in the ranks of it, oftentimes, because it was guerrilla warfare, there was assistance being provided, obviously, by the community itself. And so the community itself, even though many of them were not combatants, and even other Africans who were not Kikuyu, yes, were rounded up and made to face the reprisals of the British and their colonial government in Kenya. Okay, but listen carefully. So the motto was, the only good Kikuyu is a dead one. During this month, June, in my location, Richard Gituro, Itonge Gikuhi, Rongo Kibiko, and Juma Muture, my Kikuyu brothers and sisters, forgive me for mashing up them name there. You know what I'm saying? And feel free if any of you are listen to come correct. Yeah, my foreign tongue. Right, I know. All right. Okay. Were called out of their houses, taken to Kamoko Home Guard Center, where they were badly beaten. It being alleged that they had helped Mau Mau with food. So giving the Mau Mau food was a criminal offense for which one could be severely punished. Each was then taken out of the camp in turn and shot. Irungu Mukuru had been shot on the same day on his way to the Undunyo market. There was also an increase of inhuman torture in the local camps. For example, men castrated, beatings aimed at fracturing a limb, putting tabai or hata, poisonous stinging plant leaves of the nettle family, which cause great pain and the swelling for half a day in women's vaginas. This is an important one because a significant amount of the Kenya Land and Freedom Army were in fact women. Okay, were in fact women. Salute to our recent ancestor, Mama Mukami Kimati, Mama Njeri, who were leading and prominent members in the Kenya Land and Freedom Army. That's just two names of some of the women. Yeah, but what is being said here is that they would put stinging nettles that were known to swell up the body into the vaginas, yes, of our elder mamas and ancestor mamas. Pressing hard breasts or testicles with pliers. At this time, Ihururu Center in the North Tetu location of Njeri had been exercising all those tortures. By the same time, Simba Camp, Kambi Yasimba in Thompson's Falls district, and another camp in Bahati area of the Rift Valley on the farm of a well-known settler named Felth, were reported to be the worst in torturing. Hundreds of persons who fell victim of these tortures can be seen anywhere in the country or in towns as crippled beggars, having lost one or both legs or arms or suffering other deformities. I have come across 6 castrated men, one of whom, Kamau Njoroge, was nicknamed Mapengo, toothless, due to the absence of his front teeth in both jaws, which he lost at the Simba camp, which means that they were literally knocked out of his head. He lived with me in the Ati River and Lodwar detention camps. One more paragraph, family. In addition to the killings, beatings, and torture, starvation was accelerated, in which thousands of children and old age persons died. This was started by the repatriation of many thousands of Kikuyu from the Rift Valley and Nairobi into the reserves, followed by the repatriation of forest squatters in both Mount Kenya and the Abadaris. Thirdly, the eviction of people from a 1 to 2 mile strip all around the mountains in early June. This decreased the areas of food production and caused over 250,000 people to be homeless, landless, jobless, and helpless. In addition to this, there were strict curfews that were forced to work on communal fatigue all days, getting no food and no pay, and losing time to attend their gardens where they could get something to keep them alive. Yeah, there's more that could be said. All right, there's more that could be said. Yeah, and in fact, there's more that will be said. But one of the things that we know about the British onslaught against the Kenya Land and Freedom Army, the Kikuyu people, and the people of Kenya in general is that the numbers, yes, that suffered the tortures, literal concentration camps, and I mean literal concentration camps, yeah, and those numbers of those who were killed is highly disputed. And one of the reasons why this is highly disputed is because of the fact that the British, yes, Kenya gets its so-called independence in 1963. Yeah. And one of the reasons why the details of exactly what went down and the numbers of Africans who suffered, not just in Kenya, but we're focusing on Kenya right about now, yeah, is because of the fact that the British had an operation, yes, called Operation Legacy, all right, in which, I'm just going to read it here. There's a Wikipedia page on this, right? This is what I'm reading from right about now. Operation Legacy was a British colonial office. Later, bear that in mind that the colonial office in the British government, yeah, is now the Foreign Office. Okay, let's bear that in mind, all right? Programmed to destroy or hide files that will implicate the British Empire in wrongdoing. Let me read that again. Operation Legacy was a British colonial office, later Foreign Office, programmed to destroy or hide files that will implicate the British Empire in wrongdoing as to prevent them from being used by their ex-colonies. Yeah, there's a lot of talk because the reparations conversation is high at the moment in the Western world. There's a lot of talk in British society, and debates about how bad was the British Empire really, and a lot of Brits are adamant that British people should be proud of the British Empire because the British Empire exported government and hospitals and capitalism and free market economies and by association of that freedom, yes, democracy to the rest of the world. This is the conversation that is taking place, yeah, within British society and other Western societies at the moment. But the true exploits of the British Empire has a reputation for being less draconian and less barbaric than the French Empire or the Portuguese Empire. Those two, or the Spanish Empire, yes, them empires in particular. But the reality is that the British Empire engaged in an act of chicanery, Operation Legacy. In other words, to preserve the legacy of the British, we must destroy the evidence of our wrongdoings. As we go into this world trying to paint ourselves and promote ourselves as the bastions of liberty and human rights and etc., etc., etc. It ran from the 1950s until the 1970s, when the decolonization of the British Empire was at its height. Methods of operation: MI5 or special branch agents vetted all secret documents in the colonial administrations to find those that could embarrass the British monarchy. For instance, by showing racial or religious bias, they identified 8,800 files to conceal from at least 23 countries and territories in the 1950s and 60s and destroyed them or sent them to the United Kingdom. Precise instructions were given for methods to be used for destruction, including burning and dumping at sea. Some of the files detailed torture method used against opponents of the colonial administrations, such as during the Mau Mau uprisings. All right. So I'm gonna leave that there. I just wanted to explain to you what Operation Legacy is. All right. But what's happened is because they didn't destroy everything, some of these files end up in a UK, in some warehouse somewhere, and they were discovered relatively recently. And as a result of this, because the funding for research, generally speaking, is concentrated in the West, Britain and America in particular, the white woman by the name of Caroline Elkin, who wrote a book called Imperial Reckoning, The Untold Story of Britain's Gulag in Kenya. Yes, the untold story of Britain's Gulag in Kenya. Now, the term Gulag, yes, is provocative language because of the fact, that the Gulag was a labor camp that was popular in Soviet Russia under Stalin, and it was one of the major propaganda tools that were used in the West's war, propaganda, cold and otherwise, against Russia. And because of the fact that the West was trying to paint itself as the bastion of freedom and Soviet Russia as the center of oppression via its communist regime in the world, this association with Britain creating a gulag is provocative language, used by this American white woman in the title of her book. All right. She has another book since this book called Legacy of Violence. Important read. Both are important reads for understanding and the horrors, and the crimes that were committed by the British Empire. Okay, but we're gonna hear a snippet from Caroline Elkin, and what's important here is the information that she provides in terms of what just the files that she was. Now remember, holy the files them destroy, when I have them again. But what the files that were uncovered and that she was given access to, what they in fact did reveal. Okay, let's bear that in mind. And after this, we're going to open up the lines. All right. Okay.
Barbara, for those very kind words of introduction. And it's amazing what one can find nowadays on the web about a person and their childhood. But it is very much true. And in fact, I have always loved history from as long as I can remember, and listening to Barbara describe the incredible things that
By the way, as far as I'm aware, because these files were only released within the last 15 years, she is the only person to have done significant research on these files. So that's why her work is of particular importance at this moment in time. There's not much work done in terms of going through those files. She was the first person, and I believe to this day still the only historian that has done significant work with those British files, in particular as it relates to the British Empire and its crimes in general, and the Kikuyu and the Kenyan Land and Freedom Army in particular. All right, this is pointing it out for context.
PSU Friends of History do for the university and for the broader Portland community. A simple I'm here this evening has been the long durée of a very important group of people working to bring history not just to some of the details that are in my current book, but also draw connections to the contemporary issues that are raised by my findings, because I think in many ways, the kind of research that I do and some other historians as well forces us out of our ivory tower, and the research has profound implications on contemporary events. And I will come to that as the lecture goes on. But I'd like to start with a little bit of a story. On an unusually cool Nairobi fall evening, in 1963, a young British colonial officer, who I shall call John because he would prefer to remain anonymous, John was busy gathering piles of documents from the Ministry of Internal Security and Defense. All the documents he was collecting pertained to the detention camps that the British colonial government had set up all over Kenya during the 1950s as a way of suppressing the Mau Mau insurgents. Files with labels like Manyani Camp and Atrocities, Detainee Works Projects were all being prepared. Prepared for what? I asked John in a recent interview. Prepared for the bonfires, he casually responded. You see, he said, we had orders from on high to burn all the documents that had anything to do with the detention camps and interrogation centers, and that's what we did. We burned them. And there was indeed plenty of reason to cleanse the historical record of the detention camps and interrogation centers that were scattered all over Kenya in the 1950s. And as I came to learn during my own research some 50 years later, these were sites of unimaginable crimes. British colonial officials and their underlings perpetrated gross human rights violations and then took deliberate steps to cover them up on the eve of decolonization from Kenya in 1963. And as an historian, looking at this, I spent nearly 10 years trying to piece this story back together again. And as we all know, even the best of purges leave something behind. So what that means is you go to the official archives in places like London and Nairobi, and you painstakingly go through file after file after file, looking for anything you can possibly find. Then you go through private archives and missionary archives, newspapers and photographs, and you conduct interviews. I conducted interviews with former British colonial officers, settlers, missionaries, and hundreds of survivors, men and women, who survived the detention camps of late colonial Kenya. Now, I came to find out several things in the course of my work, one of which was that my premise to begin with was completely wrong. I started out thinking I was going to write a book about the success of British liberal reform in the detention camps of Kenya. You laugh. I stood in front of my G3 conference as a graduate student saying that exact thing, and I was given lots of applause by my faculty members. Well, in part, the files are seductive because not only were they purged, but what was left behind was a very seductive story about something called rehabilitation or hearts and minds. Well, I came to
So just to add some context to what she's saying there, she said that she thought she was going to write a piece on the success of British liberal reform in the concentration camps of Kenya. The reason why she said she stood before her people and got a loud applause on that is because that is how the British were promoting what they were doing in Kenya. They were telling the world that they were engaged in the liberal reformation of these criminal elements within Kenyan society. Yes, that this was an act of quote unquote liberal reform, that they were granting the benefits of the Enlightenment, yeah, and British values, yeah, to these savage and barbaric Africans, yeah. Kikuyu in particular, Kenya Land and Freedom Army, so-called Mau Mau in specific, yeah? And so that was the dominant narrative, okay, about what Britain had done. So it was generally accepted that, you know, the Kenya Land and Freedom Army rose up. They were brutal savages, and the Mau Mau became the image of brutality and savagery in Western media for a significant period of time. And then in response, the British engaged in a gentlemanly exercise in liberal reformation. Yeah, that was the propaganda and the characterization. So that's why she went in with that mentality.
I came to find out that these camps weren't about hearts and minds at all, but that in fact, they formed something collectively, which I have called Britain's Gulag. There was also something else that really struck me about all of this, and that was the actual numbers of detainees in the camps. Official files.
So this is the important part, yeah, where she talks about the actual numbers of detainees in the camps. Listen very, very carefully to this point.
Say 70 to 80,000 detainees. But time and again, the numbers that kept cropping up in the files that remain suggested something more. And when you look closely at these numbers, what you come to find out was that these were net figures and not gross figures. In other words, they didn't tell you how many detainees came into the camps and how many left. So once you go back through the files and start piecing together the intake and release rates, what you come to find out is that really 2 to 4 times the number of detainees were in these camps, or somewhere as high as 320,000 detainees.
All right, so even the book that I've just read, yeah, that's written from a Kenya Land and Freedom Army perspective, yeah, all right, measured it at 250,000. It's actually significantly more than that, yeah. Actually, sorry, this wasn't measuring the people in the camps. This was measuring the people that became homeless. All right, so that's it's even a different barometer that is being used here for a different indicator. Yeah, this is homelessness. All right, so we're talking about, but bear in mind, yeah, she said over 300,000 people. All right, but the point here is that this is 2, 3, 4 times more than the known average has generally been identified. All right, bear this in mind. Okay, all right, we got you.
But bear in mind that these camps were by and large for men only. But that also raises an issue because, again, in the files, the women were purported to be more steadfastly Mau Mau than the men.
I just want to point out the British had a running thing. They wrote this about women in Zimbabwe as well, in Nigeria, I believe also in Ghana. They had a thing about steadfastness of African women against colonialism. Yeah, and so in their records, yeah, they said that the women were more steadfastly, quote unquote, Mau Mau than the men were. A lot of the men were. Yeah, you remember Radan said a significant amount of the army was women. Okay, all right, let's bear that in mind.
But what you come to find out is that the women and the children and the elderly were also detained, but not in the camps, but in the emergency villages. Because dotting the Kikuyu countryside by the middle of 1954 and 1955, the British colonial government set up 800 emergency barbed wire villages. These villages, surrounded by barbed wire and spiked trenches, under 24-hour guard, women are forced to labor from sunup to sundown. They're tortured, beaten, murdered. These were detention camps in all but name. So once you find out and you add the numbers detained in the villages to those, the adjusted figures of 320,000, you find out that it wasn't 70 to 80,000 in these camps. You find out that, in fact, the British colonial government detained nearly the entire Kikuyu population of 1.5 million people.
The British government detained nearly the entire Kikuyu population of 1.5 million people in what was effectively a concentration camp. Yeah, this is what's being said right here now. Okay, and this has been covered up deliberately by the British government from that time until very, very recently. All right, bear this in mind.
The other issue becomes the death figures. Again, the reports suggest that in total, 32 settlers died during the entire Mau Mau emergency.
Settler is a white man or woman, yeah, white people, colonizers, yeah, in Kenya. Okay, all right, bear that in mind.
And based upon research, there's no reason to suspect that this number is incorrect because, as we know, the British likely would have padded that number if they could have. Similarly, approximately 11,000 loyalists. These are Africans who are loyal to the British government. I'll talk about them a bit more later. About 1,100 died. And then they suggest that 11,000 Mau Mau adherents died. Now, again, if we look at the extensive empirical evidence from countless eyewitnesses, testimonies from Asian attorneys, many of these men who represented the Africans who went off to the camps, one of whom a man by the name of Fitz D'Souza, who said tens of thousands of them simply never came back. This was a kind of ethnic cleansing. When asked, several of these attorneys estimated the numbers to be in the hundreds of thousands. And also what's compelling are the demographic figures, because what we find out is that the Kikuyu are not growing at the same rate as the other ethnic groups surrounding them, the Kamba, the Luo, and the Luya. And if you apply the growth rates of the surrounding ethnic groups to the Kikuyu figures, what you find out is that we're missing somewhere between 150 and 300,000 Kikuyu. Now, to give you a sense of the nature of the war crimes that took place in Kenya during the 1950s, I'd like to introduce you to a few of the other people who I interviewed during the course of my research. The first is a man by the name of Pascasu Macharia, who lives in Murang'a district in Kikuyu Central Province. And he described to me his experiences in Manyani detention camp, which was one of the largest camps in Kenya, and what was happening in the compound across from his. And he could see this compound because it's separated simply by barbed wire. And it was something that he described in his words as completely unimaginable.
I'm tempted, yeah, to find the full presentation and play you what the person that she interviewed describes, yeah. So you get an understanding of the horrors, all right, of the levels of criminality that these people were engaged in, yeah. So where am I going with all of this? So Charles got Kenya and say, you know, wrongs that were done. Yeah. Now you obviously you can tell, you can see, yes, that the language that he used was entirely euphemistic and designed to downplay the levels of the crimes, yeah, that the British Empire engaged in. Okay. Then he goes on to speak about the Marines in Kenya who are being trained by the British Marines, the same British military that was responsible for inflicting these horrors and perpetrating these crimes, and now training Kenyan soldiers as a Marine force. And go there and them speak to Swahili word, Kiswahili word, and the people them sing on them like idiot them. Yeah, singing them and clap like some circus scene. Yeah, for Charles of the United Kingdom of Great Britain. Okay, but the important thing for us to note, brothers and sisters, as far as it's the relevance of all of this today, is that the British government, the French government, the German government, European governments in general, and also the American government, to one degree or another in this day and age, are going to engage in certain levels of window dressing exercises that are designed to subdue our sensibilities and our passions in relation to historical wrongs, yeah, that have modern day, present day implications geopolitically and economically. And all of this is designed, as they were doing in the 1950s, with a different tact, because they had a certain kind of power position in the world, which meant that they could act with a certain level of impunity. They're going to use a different kind of tact today in order to maintain that same power. Nothing in the speech that Charles delivered suggests that this recognition of wrongs and horrors that were committed against the people of Kenya represents a change in the nature of the power relationship between Kenya and Britain in any way, shape, or form on the geopolitical and economic level. In fact, everything that he said suggests that that power relationship and that power differential is going to remain the same. And just as the British had its troops training Africans in Kenya in the 1950s to serve its interests against other Africans, the British are training Africans in Kenya today for the same purpose. And we have to be clear about this. The power dynamics have not changed. Shout out to my brother Ellie. Yeah. We are reading, because at the moment he's reading this good book right here. Yeah. Blueprint for Black Power, and engaging in analysis on a weekly basis on this text. Yeah. So check out Ellie Wananda on YouTube, and I believe it's Substack. If you want to, get into this book in a casual way, but just by listening to him read and give analysis on it. Yeah. But when I was watching all of these dynamics and meditating upon it, it brought me back to this book in terms of how Baba Amos Wilson identifies and breaks down what power is. And I'm not going to read it today. I may go into it next week, because it's something that I've been meditating on. But we have to be more concerned with the nature of power and power relationships. Okay, brothers and sisters, I've spoken for longer than I usually do. So I'm going to bring ones and ones forward. Feel free to click the link. Yeah, the link is pinned to the top of the chat. You have to be watching via gotkushTV. If you are not watching via gotkushTV, there's a link in the description to your video, yes, whereby you can find the link to watch via gotkushTV and click the link to come live on the panel. So if you want to come live on the panel, feel free to do so right here now. Feel free to do so right here now. Click the link, click the link, click the link. The lines is open. You can either contribute to the talking points that I have raised, come with a different angle, raise your own points. It's open house, kings and queens. We haven't had an open house for a little while, you know what I'm saying? And so yeah, so I had enough to say, so I apologize for speaking longer than I usually do, but don't feel in any way stifled, yeah, to come through, kings and queens. Feel free to click the link right here now. Imhotep, when you're ready, let me know. Oh, I think, okay, you're back. Okay, all right. So Imhotep is in the back. I'm gonna bring him through right here now. Hold on there. Let me just make sure so I'm correct, because yeah, family. Let's make sure everything stable around here. Okay. All right. Imhotep.
Peace, family. Can I be heard with my usual clarity?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah,
I have to give thanks for your show, as always, Brother ShakaRa. And maybe make a request for a show dedicated to maybe the occupation of Kenya by the British, or Southeastern Africa by the British, because I like the way that you break down histories, and that we have a kind of way of relaying it that is very digestible for me, at least. But in terms of what you started off I have a fairly short contribution today. You started off speaking about Israel-Palestine and some folks suggesting that it may or not be our business, right? And I'm partial to, I would say, both sides of that argument, leaning more on the side of, generally these things are not our business. But there is a prominent so-called Syrian Lebanese community in Trinbago. And the current Israel Palestine, I don't even know was the proper leftist way to frame that, but the current Israel Palestine conflict has me contemplating at what time and in what circumstances the Syrian Lebanese Christians, predominantly Christians, arrived, and apparently also some European Jews arrived in Trinidad and Tobago. And so, I mean, this is something that you and I have spoken about separately. Africans, diasporic Africans, and I don't know enough continental Africans, so I won't speak for them, but diasporic Africans have this, I don't know, seeming aversion to studying geopolitics because they feel like, well, we in our individual enclaves and wherever our problem is here is what we need to solve, if not primarily solely, and so we generally don't think about how geopolitics is going to affect us in our individual enclaves. But as I said, paying attention to this to the renewed conflict in Palestine has me really contemplating the ways that these things can trickle down into these. I mean, obviously, Trinidad and Tobago would have been a colony at the time, and that's why the British would have moved some of them, presumably anyway, to Trinidad. But again, the kind of international partners that we have will determine whether or not your particular country gets refugees or not, or is forced to take in refugees by the UN, those kind of things. So I definitely want to encourage the audience, don't slouch off on paying attention to geopolitics because it's complicated. Even knowing a little is better than knowing nothing,
100%. I agree, my brother. There's a lot that can be said there. I think it's fundamentally irresponsible for us to not pay attention to the geopolitical forces at play. We don't have to be pledging alliances and solidarity with anybody or any side in the conflict, even if we have an assessment of who is just and or unjust and or criminal. It doesn't mean that we are aligned with geopolitically with those who an injustice is being committed against. However, the world as we know it today operates in such a way that I believe it's fundamentally irresponsible for us not to pay attention. There's two things here though. One, we should pay attention. We should have an analysis whether it's on the geopolitics or how the geopolitics is being portrayed in the media, etc. There are many lessons to be learned in this dynamic and in an environment such as this. Okay, we may notice that, for example, a lot of the language that was used in the clips that I was playing from the 1950s, is similar language and a similar narrative that is being used right now all over the media in relation to the Palestinians in general and Hamas in particular. That's one indication. At the same time, and I know you're going to agree with this, I'm not necessarily directing this at you, but just to add something at the in relation to what you've raised. Our focus geopolitically shouldn't be defined by whatever Western media is focusing on at this particular moment in time. Yeah? Because that's where it becomes a distraction. So then why everybody focus upon Israel, Gaza, right, so everybody just focus upon that and forget about Congo and forget about Sudan, forget about Zimbabwe, forget about South Africa, forget about Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso, forget about Senegal, forget about Haiti, forget about Venezuela. Yes? All right? And all of these things.
Actually, sorry.
Go on.
I was saying, that's actually a kind of poignant dichotomy that he created there, because while because I'm in a lot of leftist spaces, but also Black nationalist spaces or Pan-Africanist spaces, I have been seeing a lot of, well, overwhelmingly positive coverage of the Palestine conflict, as in favor of the Palestinians, but also contrasts with the fact that there seem also to be genocides occurring in Sudan and in the Congo, which have been occurring for the past, well, Congo, I think for the past 20 years, Sudan, I think for the past like 3 or something like that. They have another civil war, it seems, or at least something akin to a civil war. And me, with all my interest and passion towards contemporary Africa and the diaspora, wasn't aware of these things, you know. So like, it's very valid that you say we can't just be focusing on what the Western media is focusing on. We also, well, number one, we have to develop our own media channels, but also pay attention to African media channels.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And as somebody who tries to do this, I know it's very difficult, right? I'm trying to be more effective in terms of how I stay on top of media and news in the African world, yeah. And especially as we develop gotkushTV, the strategies for doing that are going to become extremely important. There are a few people though who I know who do it very well. And so let me add some solutionary conversation to this dynamic. Yeah, Sister African Esquire, formerly, her channel was formerly known as African Esquire. Her name is Tierney Cherie, who has been on gotkushTV with us before. Her channel is now African Exodus. Yes, African Exodus. And so she runs a program every other day, it would seem like, whereby she's breaking down different aspects of news within the Pan-African world. Yeah, she does a very, very good job of it. And we are going to be bringing programming similar to that to gotkushTV soon. So do stay tuned. We have some people on stream, you know, to come and deal with that soon. Yeah, and also there's a channel called African Stream. Yeah. They're very prolific on Instagram and TikTok as well. So if you want, you know, a lot of news, they're very good at. It's run by a brother called Ahmed Cabello. Yeah. And good brother, you know what I'm saying, from Sudan, but he lives in Kenya. And excellent job, yeah, excellent job in terms of documenting and bringing news from across the African continent and the African world. So check out African Stream, check out African Exodus, and there's I need to check if New Africa magazine is still being published, yeah, but that is a good source. And even if it's not being published contemporarily, I believe you can still get backdated copies of their thing if it's even online. Yeah, so New Africa magazine is also a fantastic source. Yeah, yeah. So it's very important. Like I said, it's very difficult, but the final point I make on this, however, is that oftentimes when you see a conflict such as this, whereby Africans are not directly involved, even though we are to some degree, because there are Africans in Israel and there are Africans in Palestine. Okay, and that's a whole another dynamic that is often not spoken about, but it is a fact that Israel is a criminal settler colony that has committed crimes against African people from its inception. We may not be aware, for example, of the fact that the apartheid government in South Africa was able to acquire a nuclear arsenal based upon its relationship with Israel. Yes, in the 1970s, I believe it was. Yeah. We may not be aware of the fact that Israel has engaged in the forced sterilization of African women in Israel. We may not be aware of that fact. We may not be aware of the fact that there are, in fact, Afro-Palestinians who speak about the fact that Palestinian society is fundamentally racist against them. Yes. All right. And when they buck up, so that you have those Palestinians, Afro-Palestinians so-called, who say that, then you have some Afro-Palestinians who say, well, actually, the racism that we face doesn't necessarily come from other Palestinians, it comes from Israel. The Israeli state treats Afro-Palestinians with a particular kind of disgust, even in relation to Palestinians in general. Yeah. And so there are all of these dynamics that we have to understand and overstand. Then there's the fact that recently Israel has been seeking to exert influence on the African Union, applying for quote unquote observer status within the African Union. And so when we see dynamics such as that, and the fact that there are African nations who are willing to accede to that, for example, Paul Kagame in Rwanda, who many people are celebrating, but I don't. I believe it was Paul Kagame who was welcoming to Israel in that regard, because of the fact that South Africa has a particular kind of relationship with Israel. Historically, they were skeptical, and many other African nations were skeptical. Of course, North Africa was skeptical, although even a lot of those Arabic nations are trying to normalize relations with Israel at the moment. Okay, so even when the news item doesn't directly relate to Africans or African nations, yeah, there are often dynamics that within the geopolitics of the situation that do. Yes, and so we can never just be complacent, as I said in a previous stream, and say, well, yeah, no, I've nothing to do with it. It's irresponsible, yes, to engage in that kind of and well, I was gonna say analysis, but it's not even analysis. You know what I'm saying? All right, now I'm gonna move on because I talked long enough already, and there's two other people on the thing. And I've seen your comment. Big up to Empress Kushti in the building. By the way, I forgot to say, if you want your comment read out, yeah, please at gotkushTV, okay? Like there's always beautiful, you know, debate and discussion in the chat. We love that. But if you want your comment read out, please at gotkushTV, and or engage the super chat option. The super chat option is also available, but you're not required to engage the super chat to get your comment read out, but you do have to at gotkushTV. Someone can see a comment, and yeah, and read it. Maybe one day we'll read through a Guardian article that details, yeah, Israel's relationship with apartheid South Africa to a significant degree. Some important information, yeah. King Kill.
Article, big up Shaka, man.
Yes, Bro, been strong in the building.
Of course, man. Every time, man.
Yeah. Got more to work upon Saturday.
May I try still?
All right, cool. All right. By the way, finally, Mutabaruka's in the UK at the moment. I had the pleasure of interviewing him one day. Yeah, I did film it but it looked like something did go wrong with technology because we can't. The whole of the interview when we record it not depend the card. Yeah, so I may have to just bring you the audio. I've still got the audio, but the video, yeah. So anyway, yeah, we'll see what I go on. But yeah, go on, through, kid.
Yeah, man, I just wanted to say it's very important to study the political science, the basics of having knowledge of the system and its political behavior and its activity internationally. So we do need to understand what's going on in Palestine and etc. So we can know how to have one foot in, one foot out without being exploited. I think it's a very good lesson for us to analyze how people deal with things and how we can kind of assess it without getting drawn into it. But I do wanted to ask you as well, King, if one of the days if you could do a show on the Sudanese Pan-Africanist movement in the 60s. I don't know if you're aware of that on the General Namiri. There was a very prolific movement because you know the Sudanese, they got inspired by the Pan-Africanists in Nigeria. So I was hoping if you could do a show on that, man, one of the days, man. You know what I
mean? 100%. And so it's somebody that I'd have to, it's a subject that I'd have to bring somebody on to deal with, because whilst I know what I know, but I'd get an expert on that one. Yeah.
Right.
But shout out to man like John Garang. Yeah, you know what I'm
Right.
saying, who is a significant leader among the Sudanese people. And shout out to a now ancestor who I knew personally, a member of the Sudanese People's Liberation Organization, brother Deng Ajak, yeah, who was a Pan-Africanist who operated in London in the UK, you know, in the 80s and the 90s. A man, beautiful uncle, you know what I'm saying, but he's now passed away, and all of these things, you know. But the Pan-African movement in the 80s was very much you know, in solidarity and in organizational unity with members of the Sudanese People's Liberation Organization and the Sudanese People's Liberation Army. Yeah. And so yeah, it is a powerful story. Many of us don't know these stories, so I agree with you, and I would definitely there's a few brothers and sisters that I know that could do that subject proper justice. Yeah. And so yeah, we'll definitely make sure that happens. Yeah, we'll definitely make sure that happens. But
one more
go
thing
on.
as well, King. There is a freedom fighter in Palestine, Afro Palestine. Her name is Fatima Badawi. She's half black Palestinian, you know, of her, and half Nigerian. And she's very candid when it comes to the racism in Palestine. So perhaps if we study her work, then we can kind of not cause confusion.
No, there's a few. There's a few. I'm a play. There's a video that I've watched where there's a brother. He just goes to places and finds black people. That's all the channel was about. But he went to Palestine and interviewed some of the Afro-Palestinians. Some of them are very prominent. Some of them are activists. Yeah, do you know what I'm saying? And so they have organizations over there. And some of them will speak of what they suffered in terms of fighting on behalf of Palestine against Israel as well. So there's all of those dynamics in the thing. Yeah. So yeah. You know what I'm saying? You know, these are all dynamics. The one thing I do want to say though is that in relation to both your point and what Imhotep was saying before, one of the things that is necessary for us to know as well is in relation to geopolitics and what we focus on. There are many brothers and sisters, yeah, who the importance of a Pan-Africanist trajectory and a Pan-African perspective is that only we are going to centralize ourselves on our own standard. There are many brothers and sisters who I know who are Muslim, yeah, who are impassioned by the Palestine issue because of the fact that they are Muslim. And if you ask them about anything to do with the African world, they can't tell you nothing. Yes? Not at all. But because the Muslim world is impassioned about Palestine, as soon as I've got friends that did them as soon as them Tom Muslim, they become an expert. Yes? on Palestine, Israel. No, I'm being very serious. Yeah?
Real talk.
They become an expert on Palestine, Israel. Yeah? Even over and above places in the African world that have a significant or even a majority Muslim population. You ask them about Mali, them can't tell you nothing about Mali. Yeah, you ask them about Sudan, them can't tell you nothing about Sudan, and maybe some can because Sudan is closer to the so-called Arab world. Yeah, the so-called Middle East. Yeah, you ask them about Eritrea, them can't tell you nothing about Eritrea. You ask them about Senegal, them can't tell you nothing about Senegal. You know what I'm saying? Then now you have this phenomena where you got a lot of black Christians in the African world who feel they must support the state of Israel as a religious position. Yeah. One time, if I don't remember this, you know, during the World Cup, I'm not gonna call him name, but there was a footballer, yeah, on an African football team. I'm not gonna call it the team name, except to say it was West Africa. And he scored a goal, and when he scored a goal, he take out an Israeli flag out of him in football kit and wave the Israeli flag to reggae. Yeah, when you go to Ghana, you know, yeah, and you take a taxi or a trotro, yeah, which is like a bus. It's not unusual to see the driver have a Ghana flag, and an Israeli flag in the car. Me say it's not unusual. Yes? And so there are many black people around the world who are being galvanized around a defense of Israel at this moment as a matter of theological devotion, because they believe that the state of Israel is ordained by God himself, and therefore to go against Israel is to go against God.
Do you think, brother, that these people would be influenced by the fact that the founders of Zionism were secular Jews and didn't care
Some
about...
of them know. May I tell you, say some of them know that Imhotep. Yeah. The other day, I'm gonna say it to you. The other day, I listened to a whole show, of this brother, yeah, in America, that has a whole institute that is based upon developing black solidarity with Israel. He have an organization called the Institute of Black Solidarity for Israel.
I'm trying to figure out what's the motivations behind that.
Him know that Theodore Herzl was an atheist, secular. Them know. Yeah. But them take it upon themselves. Yeah. To propagandize on behalf of Israel. And he runs programs whereby he's trying to develop relationships. It's a brother from America, trying to develop relationships between Africans on the continent and the Israeli state. Yeah. So we see. Now, this is beyond, look, like I said, it's important for us to have a position. But when we look, at the dynamics of what are going on, this is why it's important to have a Pan-African media that focuses on African issues. Because even our religious sensibilities politicize us in very particular ways. Now, disclaimer, me now say every Muslim and every Christian stay so. Every African Muslim and every African Christian. I'm saying that dynamic is significant among Africans who are Muslim and Africans who are Christian. And there are Africans who are Muslim and Africans who are Christian who are challenging those sensibilities among our people in those faiths as well. Yeah. So I'm gonna make that very, very clear. All right. Feel free to stay on the panel, brothers, and chip in as and when. African diplomacy.
Hey, afternoon, everybody. Bless up. Nice show as usual. I really think it was very eye-opening learning about the Britain in Kenya. Some of those figures, is very alarming. Normally when Western media talk about atrocities and stuff, they like to throw out the big numbers from China and Russia, the millions, but they come to find out 1.5 million people potentially detained in our fine. I definitely want to see like the rest of that thing, like you were saying. But like what was particularly on my mind really is like Kenya nowadays, like they're doing a lot of progressive things, it seems. They remove visa thing for all Africans, and they think like they want to send the people into Haiti.
That's Rwanda.
Kenya didn't do it too?
It as well as
not that I've heard. Pardon me?
Yeah, I think Kenya did it as well recently, yeah.
Okay. All right, that's news to me. All right, good. Okay. Go on.
Yeah, but like no, with the thing with Haiti now, that's where it get tricky, cause I think with the thing with Haiti and the troops, I wanted CARICOM to do it, but like Jamaica right now, you see Jamaica didn't even vote on the Israel thing. Diplomatically, Jamaica seemed kind of confused. CARICOM itself probably split up right now because
Jamaica
of certain things.
Wholeness is fully up the Western Battle right here now.
Yeah, and with Israel, it would seem like him kind of take a certain side with Israel. It would even seem.
Wholeness is with anybody that is with Britain and America.
Right. So I want to hear like everybody opinion on like what should we do about Haiti, cause like them keep landing in Portland. I'm with them. Yo, it's crazy because at the same time them saying they want it to import labor while deporting the Haitians that land in Portland. You get me? So them having news saying they need to import labor, but it really seems like they want to import Chinese and Indian people. So like Haiti.
Exactly. If you want to, all right, you remember about a decade ago when I think it was a decade ago when Aristide, former president of Haiti, landed in Jamaica. He was on his way back to Haiti he was in South Africa for a few years, and big consternation in a Jamaica, because people vexed the Haitian they come Jamaica. If you want to understand how colonized the minds of our people in the Caribbean are, look at our position when it comes to Haiti. The stigmatization of the people of Haiti is a very strong, and I didn't realize this until that episode. Is very strong among many people in the Caribbean. That stigmatization. In my humble estimation, my brother, the question that you're asking, the answer is obvious but complex at the same time. Because what the answer doesn't just come in the context of what we need to do with Haiti. We're not gonna do nothing with Haiti if the government and the people of Jamaica are unable to reconcile certain things with the people in Jamaica. It's not gonna go on with Haiti. And the issue is that everybody is dancing to the tune that is being played by the United States of America. And everybody in the Caribbean, as far as the governments know, that America has significant interest in Haiti and control things in Haiti. Them know that the American government controls the Haiti government to the point whereby the president of Haiti can be assassinated, and everybody now knows that it was the CIA that did it. Everybody just know this, but nobody can say nothing about it. There is no outcry from any Caribbean government about the fact that the CIA went into the nation and assassinated the president and put in the president that they already controlled in the first place anyway, and put in the next one.
No, brother ShakaRa, it was the gangs. It wasn't the CIA. It was the gangs.
Nonsense. The people that they say, I think they said the people that they come from Colombia, but they're known to be CIA man. Now, there are some dynamics that I'm learning about in Haiti. When you mentioned the gangs, because there's a man over there who them say is a quote unquote gang leader, that is organizing the people them to challenge the neo-colonial government out there. The answer to your question, Meloman, it's gonna sound dissatisfactory, but there are people on the ground in Haiti who are fighting against the neo-colonial structures that have oppressed the people of Haiti ever since. And in particular, since the American invasion in 1914 to 1933. 1915, sorry, to 1934. And we have to organize on a grassroots level to support those people. We can't do that if we're not organized ourselves. At the same time, we have to wage a propaganda warfare in terms of exposing the political machinations of a nation like America in Haiti and destigmatizing the people of Haiti as well. The people of Haiti should be the most celebrated people in the whole of the Caribbean.
Oh, sure. Coming from a Trinity.
The nation of Haiti should be the capital of the Caribbean people.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Me say so. We should have Haiti in the highest esteem. as African people in the Caribbean for where Haiti do fi we. But we have bought into colonial mentality, neo-colonial mentality of Britain and America and voodoo and all of these things. Yeah, we now got Jamaica. Jamaica can't even get rid of the law we ban Obia in Jamaica. It now got appreciate voodoo from Haiti. In my humble estimation. So there's many things on many different levels, but we have to educate ourselves as a people. And even that time there, remember even Beanie Man and Ninja Man did the on stage and had a freestyle battle about the fact that Aristide and other Haitians were in the country and whether they should be allowed in the country or not. The first stage show, I talked about Aristide there in the country and having a debate about it. Yeah, so it's madness. Our thinking is fundamentally colonized, and we have to change that. And I know that, like, I don't know if my answer is satisfactory, man. What you know what I mean?
No, I agree with a lot of what you're saying. It's just a thing that I think about, in the short term, cause we definitely agree with the long-term goal of organizing the people. But like in the short term, when I look at the condition and the news, the one thing I think about sometimes is maybe the news is exaggerated in terms of how the people are actually on the ground. But when, in the boats landing in Portland now, it starts to look away, and then, the government start deporting them, and it starts to look even worse,
Yeah, man, it's disgusting. The thing is, because I don't like the organization is short term and long term. Yeah, there's things that we do in the short term, things that we do in the but when it comes to things like that, some of the things that I think should be done in the immediate sense is that there are people who know better on the ground that should organize outreach. Yeah. To those brothers and sisters, yeah, where you need, some food, some toiletries, some little shit. You know what I'm saying? Them kind of things there, yeah. I think that a force of our people in Jamaica need to be seen to be reaching out to and embracing our people from Haiti and make that seen across the whole of the island. Yeah.
I think there should definitely be like the advocacy groups in Jamaica should. Well, I see sometimes I see like what the articles would come out and they'd be like, oh no, they opposed what the government did with the last batch of them or whatever. But yeah, I kind of think, but it's like I was debating this with my friends too, and it's like, all right, so what's the steps towards actually fixing the problem? And it said first you need to secure the country, right? You think the first function of the state is safety of the citizens.
Secure the country from America. Well, secure it from
America. Well, no. Secure in the sense of like the citizens can do their regular business and so. But that's the thing, I at least don't know what the condition is on the ground. You get me? So is it a situation? Because that's one thing that the media does is that they make.
Sorry, when you say you don't know the condition, you mean in Haiti
and everything? No, in Haiti.
Okay. Well, you remember because volcano affected Haiti recently, and the ash affected many people. Haiti's there's always something. And then you have the threat of American invasion, and then them roping in the Kenya and them it's serious business. But the reality is that the Haiti government is not any more neo-colonial than the Jamaican government. It's just that the scale of the poverty in Haiti might be more, yes, but also I think it can be justifiably said that the scale of the resistance in Haiti is also more. Yeah, and there are no easy answers, my brother. There are, in my humble estimation, if I had one, I would give you one. But
now let me chime in here, cause like it just sparked my brain about something I was talking about my friends. Cause I was saying, what some of the discussion in Jamaica and you'd see on social media is people would say, if Jamaica cannot control crime, how can we contribute to securing Haiti? And I was telling my friends that the issue in Haiti different from Jamaica because in Jamaica, yes, you're dealing with gangs similar to Haiti, but the state kind of still has control, it would seem, over, the country, whereas in Haiti, it seemed more of like a straight
I see.
up, like martial law situation where you need to actually get the state back in control first and then, build
No,
from there.
but here's the problem though, Melaman. The governments that are sending troops and assistance to Haiti are sending them under the authority of the American government. This is not a CARICOM agenda.
No, I agree.
Self-reliant.
That's the thing. I think both ways you'd get funding, it would be kind of under the supervision of America. I think either
That
way,
me
if
I
it was
say.
CARICOM or AFRICOM thing. But the reason why I guess I was thinking of it, I was thinking that CARICOM could do it because I think the Haitian people culturally, even though you get a lot of the bad news, I think they're more together than the Jamaican people. So I think once they're able to get a certain level of security, that they'd actually be able to do it. Cause you see them actually fighting back against the gangs. They have their own little vigilante groups fighting back against the gangs and all of that already. So I think they can do it.
Here's the untold story though, my brother. Some of what they call gangs are fighting against the government. You follow what I'm saying? Some of what they call gang in Haiti are in fact fighting against the government. Also,
Yes.
some of what they call gang in Haiti are CIA.
Well, I've
Yeah?
definitely seen that reporting. That's where they're getting the
This is
weapons from and
this
that
is
kind
the
of thing.
dynamic that we need to address. And so we don't want no force for go there for secure no security on behalf of the government in Haiti. We want force it, if anything, we want forces to go there and join the freedom fighter them to kick out the neo-colonial government in Haiti. That we want. Yeah. The fact of the matter is that the oppression and the neo-colonialism that has been heaped upon the people of Haiti calls for civil unrest and armed resistance at the highest order. That me I say. Yeah.
Okay, I
There are
can kind
special
of.
operations. Go on.
Now I can kind of see what you're saying now with that. It's like trying to find the right party to support within the chaos that is going on. Cause basically you're saying like if we're sending the troops and the troops going to basically bring in the old regime that going to be equally oppressive and exploitative is just going back into the same loop.
And that
We're going
them
to
a
have the
want.
same thing again.
And if Andrew Holness send troops, yeah, that them depon. You got see one next puppet going on in the presidency in Haiti and bringing all the American corporation them to come sell rice to it in Haiti, and we can grow rice ourselves. Yeah, and that go on, right? And so I'm saying the people in Haiti have been rising up significantly, and the successive governments have tried to crush that resistance and or criminalize those who are engaged in the resistance. And I am planning a show on this because we need to understand what is taking place, yeah, in Haiti. It's critical, yeah. Well, and there's so many lessons to be learned, but there's so many complexities, yeah. And so we're gonna get some guests we can break it down proper. Wagwan, who's doing what? Who are the forces on the ground that are fighting on behalf of the people? Who are those who claim to be fighting on behalf of the people but are in fact not? And who are just blatant CIA agents? Yeah, and so on. There's so many dynamics go at play at the moment. But whatever the case, we must stand with the people of Haiti in their resistance against the neo-colonial government. That is fundamental. Yeah, and Andrew Holness not gonna do that. Yeah, and none of the rest of them not gonna do that because all of those governments in the Caribbean are bloody sellouts. Yeah, and especially Andrew Holness within Privy Council itself. Idiot. Anyway, what's it? I was gonna say something else, you know. but it gone out. Oh yeah, Kenya and Rwanda really taking removing when them say visa.
Yeah, visa for all African countries.
I'm sorry, yeah. I feel like I'm gonna it's a carryover from the last show. We start destroy dreams. We got Empress Christine. We got Empress Christine in the house, yeah. We got Empress Christine in the house. All right, first and foremost, Paul Kagame, yeah, is a deceiver. Paul Kagame is a puppet in the hands of Tony Blair in particular and Barack Obama to a lesser extent. Paul Kagame we're not denying that there's been some development in Rwanda, or maybe not Rwanda, but Kigali specifically. Bear in mind that Rwanda is the world's #1 exporter of coltan, but Rwanda has no coltan. Sorry, cobalt. Both probably. I need to clarify my information there, but one of the two or both of the two metals. But it has none within the borders of its nation. This is because it is the puppet of America in exploiting those resources as they exist across the border in Congo, and the civil war that has been running in Congo at this moment in time is significantly perpetrated because of the intrigue of Rwanda on behalf of America in this day and age. Yeah, I'm sorry to break people's hearts, but Kagame is not one of us. And there are many Pan-Africans running around hailing.
Nah, you've cut your mic, brother. At least for me, you're not audible.
Yeah, his mic's got,
Yeah, fully gone.
Oh gosh, can I be heard?
You're back now.
When did I cut out?
Just before I said so. Like I cut you in your first sentence, I think.
Okay, I'm simply saying that that Kagame is not one of us. Kagame is implicated in the destruction of the Congo at the moment. Therefore, he cannot be a Pan-African freedom fighter, luminary, leading light, anything of the sort. Yeah. So whilst, and the same with Ruto in Kenya. Him same one where I send the troops them to go to Haiti. Yeah. All right. So whilst it's good that African leaders release visa restriction and all them thing there, bear in mind who's doing it and where their allegiances lie, and the fact that America has an interest in opening markets in Africa at the moment, and visa restrictions can impede the movement of their resources and people as far as labor is concerned. These nations that would not have thought, the people have been campaigning for the removal of visa restriction, free movement of people for at least 2-3 generations, and they never do it. And suddenly they're doing it now. Why? Because the IMF and the World Bank have seen it fit to put out there that Africa is rising because so many of the fastest growing economies are on the African continent, and Africa is open for business and all kind of hostile and co-fat. And so it suits their interest at the moment to loosen borders and strengthen economic relationships. Yeah, especially because they're in economic warfare with China. Okay, and China is building certain infrastructure for its own interests, but that would seem to be linking different African nations with road and rail and all that kind of different thing. And America wants to make sure that it's in a position to take advantage of all of these things. Yeah. So I'm not saying that the removal of visa restriction is not good. When Nana Akufo-Addo fly go Barbados and Jamaica one day and say, well, yeah, we are remove visa restriction between Caribbean and Ghana. They say yes. Feel good about that. But that can't blind we. Yeah. That Nana Akufo-Addo sell off the gold, the whole of the gold in Ghana to the British, and sell off the port in France, in Ghana to one French billionaire.
I feel you have to
Yes.
talk about that a little more, you know, because I don't understand how an individual owns a country's port. Like, how does that work now?
The man own 15 main port through the whole of the west coast of Africa right here now. Balore him name. Yeah. But they buy out the world the people. I remember, you know, my father last week said, yeah, that there's a terminal at the Ghana airport that is under the control of the American military. Them can come in and out of the country. Nobody now search them. Nobody now check no paper.
But that to be honest, that surprises me less. I actually would have thought they would have had their own airport or heliport or whatever in Ghana. But yeah, the owning a port is a little bit different.
No, I guess I see why you're saying it one makes more sense than the other. But if we look at it in economic terms, and we understand that most goods that are transported in today's world is still transported by ship and not plane.
Right.
Especially when you talk about energy resources like oil. Yeah, a ship take them thing they go places. Yeah. Most of the precious metals, them no transport via plane, a ship. Take them things go places.
Steel, aluminium, all of it.
All them things there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's so wild to me that like, how does a nation sell its port to an individual? That's what sticks in my head. Do they still use the port? Like,
you're not pre the thing with you're not sitting the thing named capitalism, brethren. Yeah. Right? You know what I'm saying? Private individual. Private ownership of the means of production. And that's all the thing there.
Capitalism, it can't exist without exploitation of the people them as well. So yeah, man.
And that's all the thing there. Yeah. So yeah. So some of these people now, them are got tea from the Pan-African playbook. Yeah, yeah. You know what I'm saying? Here and there, them tech piece of this and tech piece of that. When you look behind the scenes now, it's serving the same people them. The power, this is why I say now, you have to look at the power dynamics. Yeah. Blows not. The power dynamics. All right. Because when we look at the power dynamics, if the power relationship is not changing, then we know it's nothing not change. If the power relationship is not changing, yeah, you open up borders, release visa restriction, yeah, but BP still own all of the oil. Nothing not change to Rastafari. Nothing not change. Yeah, and that's the thing there. You know what I mean? So that's I know. And I don't know, man. And I feel, like I said, you know, I feel bad because it seems like doom and gloom and all them things there, but it's just the reality. The problems that we have to solve are not small problems. Yeah, they're not small problems. I mean, ChakaRa said we must speak truth to the people. Them tell no lie, expose lies wherever they are told. Mask no difficulties and claim no easy victories to Rastafari. That's the thing there. Yeah, that's the. You know what I mean?
I don't necessarily get the doom and gloom from how you're approaching it. Really, just like, we can't afford to, in as much as we have to celebrate small victories, at the same time we have to keep in mind the greater victories that still need to be won now, boys. So
right, that's the thing there. Yeah, so if we want to help the people in Haiti, we need to develop an independent ganja trade between Jamaica, St. Vincent, and Haiti. Apparently, those are the best places to grow ganja. Yeah, marijuana, in the Caribbean. I believe those are the 3 best places. I believe possibly Guyana's on the list as well, but let me not quote that one. Look, I'm not too sure. But apparently, you know, St. Vincent have the sweet thing. Yeah, we don't know Jamaica already, but Haiti apparently also. But that industry. So yeah, so we need to develop some independent industries. Yeah, and I suggest the Maca, yeah, the Kushumpeng, is a good place to start. Yeah, you know what I'm saying, where these things are concerned, you know what I mean? But Melaman, you deal with the farming thing, innit?
Oh no, I'm not really from, but like you just mentioned something really about Haiti and the farming is that you bring my mind back now to Israel. Cause I'd watched the what's her name? I think she named Ezeli Danto. I did see
Yes, sir.
her. She talk about Haiti some of the time, and she mentioned some of the oligarchs and how them control a bunch of the stuff in Haiti, right? And some of them
Yeah.
have connections back to Israel and I think it's mostly just Israel and America. I think she mentions really, but like you
And
mentioned
France.
now about
Yeah.
Haiti and the world.
No, I was gonna say and France too, but today mostly Israel and America. Yeah. You know what I'm
All
saying?
right. Yes, I was just thinking about like you're saying now the industries now, like how what type of stuff, like what interest do they really have? I wonder sometimes in Haiti. 'Cause I hear about gold, you know what I mean? I hear sometimes people say they have a lot of gold there and stuff. But like what kind of interest do they really have in Haiti and like Palestine? You know what I mean?
There's
Like
apparently.
why does Israel want Palestine?
Oh, that's okay. Interesting. That's a whole show, right? There's apparently oil in Haiti as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's apparently oil in Haiti as well. At the same time, it's about again power. It's about geopolitical influence. Yeah, and they don't, and because of what Haiti did and what it signifies, they don't want any uh any significant institution or nation that can challenge their geopolitical interests. Yeah. And Haiti, to significant degrees, has gone back and forth in terms of that over the years. So, one of the reasons why they invaded Haiti in the 19 teens was to overturn the law because Haiti had a law that said that no white man can't own no land in a Haiti. Yeah. When they invaded and occupied Haiti for 20 years, they rewrote the constitution. Literally, the American government and its military and its corporation rewrote the constitution. They destroyed the agricultural industry and imported foreign corporations to take over the agricultural industry. Yeah. And so Haiti's land became a playground for American agricultural corporations. Yes. Much like the rest of the Caribbean. Okay. And one day we'll go into this just in terms of the banana trade. Yeah. Because the banana trade is not a simple thing. Yeah. There's a whole heap of geopolitics involved in the banana trade. But I'm not gonna go into details because the details are not present on my head at the moment. So we're gonna give some time, yeah, for going at it. But their interest is one, power and domination, and two, economics and agriculture. Yeah.
I
And
think
yes, they did steal millions worth in gold. Sorry, one last thing. When they invaded and occupied for that 20 years, they did steal millions worth in gold. That gold still remains in America in our bank. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
right.
Oh, you know what I have to do? Sorry.
Yeah,
So,
go.
go on, Miller man. Go on, Miller man.
Oh no, one of the things, cause you know you list a bunch of the like different I guess economic, you know, like money interest that they might have in Haiti. But one I guess political thing that you reminded me of is that like Haiti kind of challenged the American symbolism for freedom. 'Cause, you know, America is supposed to symbolize freedom, I guess. Whereas Haiti, you'd have to argue, is probably the first place to really truly symbolize freedom because they're like, okay, no slavery. You know, probably Haiti is probably the first place to really abolish slavery, right? So
100%.
Haiti probably is the better symbol for freedom. So they challenge that American and Western type of, you know, thing for freedom and I guess democracy, liberalism. So I could see that, but
100%.
I wonder about Palestine sometimes. Like you guys noted earlier, the people who first started the Zionism thing, they're secular atheists and whatever. So I don't think they believe in the myth within the scriptures. That's actually the reason why they want the land. You know, so I'm wondering why do they actually want the land if it's not the myth that they believe in? You know, so what really makes them want the land? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
No.
Yeah, King. Like I said, there's a lot. I mean, one of the things that I know of is the sugar trade. Yeah, they're deeply in the sugar thing in Haiti, the American corporations. You know, but the sister that you mentioned, Ezili Danto, I've interviewed her before on other platforms, and so we'll definitely get her on to break it down in the fullness. Yeah, you know what I'm saying, in terms of Wagwan, down there. She's an extremely good resource, and she has a website as well. I'll put her name in the chat. Look more so people can check out her things, and you can find her interviews on YouTube as well. Ezili Danto. I've neglected to read the messages that have come through the chat, so let me get to Kushti's first. And she said, gotkushTV, I was gonna ask why South African is so vocal regarding Palestine and Israel. Yeah, so now you notice that some are more vocal than others. So Julius Malema, you know, put out the EFF and the people in Panama March in support of Palestine, but it's been a significant thing in the anti-apartheid movement to stand with Palestine, yeah, because of the nature in which Palestine came into existence, yeah, and so on. Okay, so that's been a long-standing thing among the anti-apartheid movement, and some people have continued that vibration since, yeah, them say apartheid end. And yes, there were significant Zionists who were members of and had prominent members and supporters of the apartheid regime in South Africa, and through those individuals, the Israeli government was a major supporter and trader with the so-called apartheid colonial government in South Africa. And like I said, the nuclear arsenal that Mandela Giwe, when he become president, was provided with the assistance here of Israel. All right. Now notice this here, that a part of the deal that brought Nelson Mandela, to the forefront of party politics in South Africa was to give up the nuclear arsenal that the international community allowed the apartheid government to develop. So the critical colonizer, yes, could be a nuclear power. The supposedly free African or rainbow nation could not. Geopolitics to Rastafari. Coffee Campbell says, gotkushTV, list all the corporations in Haiti now. No, we're not gonna do that. We're not gonna list the all of the corporations in Haiti now. But we will definitely do a show on the subject. Yeah. As I said, there are banks operating in Haiti, sugar corporations operating in Haiti. There is some tourism stuff going on as well, and other agricultural industries. Yeah. And some of them that existed 100 years ago are not necessarily there in the same way now. And then there are also geopolitical institutions like what are people they call the Clinton Foundation. Yeah. All right. And their geopolitical interest, which is always tied to economic interest and so on and so forth. Yeah. Well, yeah, we're now gonna reel off things off the top of our head right here now. We'll do a show whereby we'll break that down judiciously and expeditiously. All right. Okay. So yeah.
I was going to ask you a question, Shaka. A lot of people, they always have problems with the ancestor Martin Luther King with his political strategy in Alabama, because it was very aggressive, the racism, compared to Umar Wale, where he was at. Could we say that Julius Malema, because of certain political, or should I say, aggressiveness, that he's using that as a smoke to get back with the EF movement?
He's using what? Sorry.
Could you say that he's using like the Palestine movement and the rest of it to distract the non-Africans away from focusing too much on the economic freedom fighter movement? Before it became garbage.
It will be an interesting strategy, although I think that to distract people away from the EFF would work against Malema's interest at the moment. Malema is trying to make sure that the EFF has as successful as possible an election in the coming election, which I believe is next year. Yeah. Right. And so he wants all eyes on the EFF at all times, right and they are the third largest political party in South Africa at the moment. Third to the ANC, which is the biggest, and the second is the Democratic Alliance, which is the one that is run by with the big money from white folks. Yeah. The proper like neoliberal kind of party. That's the Democratic Alliance. Real just rank apartheid politics, basically. People they're on unrepentantly just in the pocket of white billionaires in South Africa, and millionaires and rich white people in South Africa, and representing their interests. But it's interesting that party is the second biggest party, yes, in South Africa, and the EFF is the third. So it shows the power dynamics at play. Okay, Coffee Campbell has come through. I was going to wrap up, but we'll take him. Go ahead, Coffee.
Yeah, man. Greetings. Yeah. I feel say when you try blame corporations in Haiti for the unrest, it kind of misleading still. Because I can bet Bahamas have a lot more corporations than Haiti. As a matter of fact, all the other Caribbean countries have corporations and investments, but they don't have the instability there. So obviously it have something else, something deeper. The tribalism over there deeper than the tribalism in Jamaica, where at least we wait for elections to war.
No, that's a wild claim. That's a super wild claim.
Hold on, a communist. Stop it nice, man. At least we wait till elections to war, but over there, so man, I mean, coup and them thing there. I mean, it too common. Them still not learn how to change administrations without that. You don't like you don't like the current.
At the same time, though, I never said that corporations are responsible for what is taking place in Haiti, and that's not what I said.
Okay, I'm sorry. What was the context you brought that up?
I'm talking about neocolonialism. So corporations have a role in neocolonialism. It doesn't make them
in the context of the unrest in Haiti. How that related to?
Yeah, it's related to neocolonialism.
Yeah,
so when America invaded, it is a fact that it's opened Haiti as a playground for American corporations, and I've already said partly, particularly in the agriculture, there was banking and so on and so forth. Yeah.
But I mean,
So,
Bahamas, Eastern
sorry,
Caribbean, they're all playgrounds. I mean, the Caribbean is
sorry.
marketed as
Haiti,
a
Haiti,
tourist destination.
Haiti,
So,
Haiti is a different example. So,
okay, how is it
there,
different?
there are
That's more I know.
there are many ways that it's different. But again, as somebody who deals with economics, you know that trying to draw such blanket correlations is actually a nonsense, right? You
I'm
can't
not
just say
drawing any correlation. I just responding to what you said.
sorry, no, but you're actually not. Bringing in the example of Bahamas, one would need to take into consideration the history of Bahamas, the geopolitics of Bahamas, and so on and so forth. Haiti is a particular nation of particular history, and its unrest, as far as neocolonialism is concerned, is designated around the threat that Haiti poses to the power of America in that region. Okay.
Threat what? Military threat? What kind of threats Haiti have to America?
Sorry, allow me to finish. Thank you.
Please, thanks.
So the issue here is that simply because, put it this way, as far as neocolonialism is concerned, it is entirely possible that unrest serves the interest of the neocolonizer in one area of the world, as in where rest serves the interest of the colonizer in another part of the world. Yeah. If Bahamas became a hotbed for challenging and by the way, anyway, the corruption and the fact that Bahamas is a playground for American corporations, and as a result corruption runs rife there. So if
yeah,
anybody,
them richer and they're more stable. So
excuse me please, if Bahamas became a significant challenge to that geopolitical order, you will start say
how Haiti challenge American order, Virgin? Is the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. How that challenge nothing?
The resources in the ground are necessary for America.
Okay, I've been hearing about gold and oil for years.
I'm not finished. Thank you very much.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
As I was saying, if a significant movement developed in Bahamas to challenge that order, then you start see unrest in the Bahamas develop very, very
how
quickly.
Haiti challenge America? You don't answer that question. No.
Point is, so first and foremost, in 1804, Haiti became the first the first nation within the hemisphere to abolish slavery. America considered this a threat because the example of Haiti posed.
It's 2023 now, brethren.
Excuse me.
2023 now, brethren. How is Haiti a threat to anybody?
You asked a question. The fact that this is the point.
You're not even damn rep afraid of Haiti.
The people of Haiti consistently are challenging their neocolonial governments. The neocolonial government is in the pocket of America to challenge.
When they challenge Aristide, when they did rise up against Aristide, that was neocolonial challenge too.
Excuse me. Thank you.
Hope you answer that question.
The challenge of the neocolonial government is a challenge of the authority of America in Haiti. So you're challenging America's interest. America's interest is to remain the geopolitical power in that hemisphere in the world. We just done 2 shows on Grenada and how the little small
challenge that.
Well, you could ask the same about Grenada, and according to Ronald Reagan himself and the American government and so on.
That was during the Cold War. That was during the Cold War when Cuba and Russia was a threat to America.
Small island in the Caribbean.
Because they were allies of Cuba and Soviet Union. Who is Haiti allied with? Russia?
little small island in the Caribbean was
Is
a threat
Haiti allied with Russia or China now?
to America.
Very pure mode of
no
analysis,
was,
you know, brother.
Yo,
was
Tafina is not Trini. Yo, make it
no
answer.
was
Yo,
was
Shaka,
Grenada.
answer
Right?
the
So, but
question.
I
How
have
is
already
Haiti?
I
Is
have
Haiti
already
allied with a
I have
superpower now that threaten America?
I have already answered the question. In relation to in relation to
Well, let me
in
answer
relation
too. I want to give my answer
Yo,
too.
that's fine.
I
That's
want to
fine.
give
yo,
my
when they
answer.
overthrow Aristide, was that
relation-
fighting neocolonialism too?
It was America who overthrew Aristide.
Oh, so when you're
Right.
when leaders that you like get overthrown, it says America. But if it's
Well, no,
somebody else, it says, well, that's neocolonialism. All right, Bridget, I understand.
But that's you're exposing your ignorance of the history.
You're exposing your double standard.
It's not even contested that America was the people that was responsible for the overthrow of Aristide.
So the people in the streets
Not contested anywhere in the world.
They have to wait on America.
Sorry.
The
Literally,
people in the streets have
literally America. No, Aristide.
when Baby Doc get overthrown, that was America too.
So again, you're asking blanket questions outside of context. Yeah,
I'm trying to understand. I'm trying to get that kind of consistency from you.
You're not trying to understand because the consistency isn't overthrow is always on the part of the people. There are overthrows that are galvanized by the people, that they're challenging their government, and then there are overthrows that are sponsored and generated by neocolonial.
Yo, why you don't just admit? Why you don't just admit that politics is very complicated and nuanced, and you can't just simply
that's exactly what
people as neocolonialists.
Yeah, that's what he started.
That's exactly what I'm saying to you. That is what I said way down the line when you
at
asked
the start.
No, you say it's America. You say it's America.
No, that.
Sorry. You're trying to draw simplistic conclusions in complex geopolitical and historical reality.
I'm trying to understand how Haiti in 2023 is a threat to America.
For the sake of,
it's not even a threat to Dom Rep or Jamaica. Well, Jamaica, yeah, because the refugees and
for the sake of defending America and American interests in the region.
How is Haiti today a threat to America? Tell me. I know you're not telling me. I've
already said we're talking about a challenge to American geopolitical interests.
Oh, what them have F-16?
Because there are people
in S-40 400 missile interceptor. What they have over Haiti?
I tell you what.
Let me give him an answer.
Yes, please. Somebody else. Please, somebody else.
Yeah, so at the start, him did say basically that it's complex already, right? But the question you're asking, how does Haiti challenge America? It's kind of like what I was talking about before the last time I had the mic, where it's more of a philosophical thing. And you kind of said the same with Grenada, with this like communism versus capitalism thing. That's a philosophical challenge. It's not a... Well, why is Grenada a threat then?
Because they were allies with Cuba and the Soviet Union, and it was at the height of the Cold War. And America
No. No. Answer the question like with some material reality to it. Why is Grenada a threat to the US? Is it an economic threat, a military threat? What kind of threat is it? Even with the allyship.
Me just answer you.
I'm holding you. No, I hold you to the same standard you try to hold him to. So I said, give me a materialistic. No, give me a materialistic answer for why Grenada is a threat. How would they pose a threat to the state?
All right, let me go again. But listen this time. Grenada, during the Cold War, was an ally of Russia and Cuba. Okay, because
so what does that mean? What does that mean? No, what does that mean in real objective terms? What does that mean? Does that mean they're going to invade from there?
That's why you're not listening.
I wanted to stop like filibustering and answer the question. So what in material terms is the real threat from Grenada? Is it a military threat where they're going to invade from there? Does it challenge their economic hegemony?
They think it would, yeah.
That's how you think they'd invade from Grenada. That
No, no,
invade the
no,
states
no, no,
from
no, no,
United
no,
States
no.
from Grenada.
The Soviet Union want satellites in America backyard. America wants satellites in Soviet Union backyard. That's how the Cold War go. But today, 2023, I want to understand
Right, so it's like
who
an
hate it.
ideological, so it's like an
Who
ideological thing then, right? It's an
What's
ideological thing where people
ideological?
form,
A satellite
right,
a satellite country is material threat. As a matter, it's not no ideology.
right,
It's
but
material.
so, so are you saying then that the Grenada would be fully under the control of the Soviets, or is it a case whereby they have an ideological agreement with them that they would have some type of allyship, they
Bridget,
would share? What? I'm
a
trying to
satellite,
understand what you're saying.
a satellite country is when it is where the Soviet Union would have an ally underneath America and probably give it weapons, just like the
Sorry.
Cuban
Sorry.
Missile Crisis. You understand? That's a
Can
material
I
threat.
just say though?
That's not a philosophical threat. So Haiti today, back to Haiti.
No, hold on. We have to correct some false information. Grenada was manifestly not an ally of the Soviet Union.
Okay. Did you hear?
Excuse me. The idea that Grenada was an ally of the Soviet Union was American propaganda used to justify the invasion of Grenada. Yes?
Okay, so
excuse me, I'm not finished. Thank you. So again, yeah, what we're doing here is simply trying to confuse the waters in order to defend the American narrative and to be an apologist for American government and its corporations. Grenada was manifestly and expressly a part of the non-aligned movement, and it was a prominent member of the non-aligned movement, not wanting to get caught up in Cold War politics expressly. So it was not an ally of Russia, but that was the expressed propaganda that America used to justify its attack against Grenada. Okay.
Finish now. Okay, so
right, let me piggyback on that.
No, more answer that. No, man, hold on there.
No, but I didn't get to finish asking you. You never answer my question, and you never let me tie up. You never let me tie it up, bro.
Hold on, comrade. So ShakaRa can go back.
The point is that America fabricated.
ShakaRa can. Yo, no, give me a chance to reply.
Because they consider Grenada to be a threat.
Give me a chance to reply. All right, so you can go back to your own program where you had the lady from Grenada, and she said that certain things they cannot talk about today. You understand? They can't talk about it today. Grenada.
Yes, Reagan.
And so you're just postulating in the
novice, quiet.
Grenada. I want to know your logic not making no sense. You saying you don't know. Nobody don't talk about
was
it.
An ally of Grenada as a Marxist state was an ally of Cuba and Russia. You understand? Don't be so naive. Just like how Yellow Man thing said, well, CARICOM and Kenya can just go in Haiti and support, and as if that is an independent force. You're not too naive, my youth.
I never said that ever.
Please tell me how Haiti today is a threat. Let
me finish. Let me finish answering you. Let me finish answering you now, Kofi, because you're leading perfectly into my answer. Is that you just described perfectly? Because you didn't substantiate Grenada as a military threat to America. You didn't substantiate them as any real threat to them more than an ideological threat. It's still basically
Soviet Union. Who is Haiti a satellite? Who is Haiti a satellite?
Let me summarize it for you. So you just described a situation where Grenada would be a part of an axis that would be opposing to American politics. Haiti, similarly, if they are allowed to achieve a certain level of economic development, could represent an axis. Could represent an axis that could oppose American symbolism as well. Which that type of axis would be an African CARICOM type of South-South relationship. I would challenge American notion of freedom, liberalism, all of that. Cause you guys weren't doing that, and we were in Haiti. So you kind of know the answer to yourself is that Haiti kind of does.
This is a brilliant thing you just said a while ago.
Can I just say this though? Can I just say this though?
No,
can I say this though? Hold on. Can I just say this though? America has invaded Haiti a number of times. America has organized invasions into Haiti a number of times. America is currently organizing an invasion and occupation of Haiti. Manifestly, yes, by the example of their constant intrigue into this nation, America considers this nation to be a thorn in their towards their geopolitical interests. Manifestly. So to ask me the question as though America's own actions, yeah, don't demonstrate the thing. What you tell me? Why is it? Why does America constantly invade and engage in intrigue in Haiti?
America invade because America want their man in power. You understand? Simple as that.
Oh, so if
yellow man, hold on now.
So if their man is not in power, does that represent a threat to America's interest?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good. So therefore, so how? So yellow man say, yellow man.
We're gonna wrap up the thing, yeah. We're gonna wrap up the thing because I'm already 40 minutes over the thing. Having said that, like I said, I'm gonna arrange a whole show upon Haiti, and we can get into what company in there, what is America's interest in there. America's made a significant amount of money off of its control over Haiti. When
more than Bahamas.
Sorry, when the Ducks were in power, yeah,
more than Bahamas.
Anyway, we'll
America make more money off of Haiti than Bahamas.
You live in the
Answer
Bahamas.
that, man. Answer that, man.
Huh? You live in the Bahamas. You live in the Bahamas.
No, don't deflect. You said that America make enough money off Haiti. All right, so
why is that relevant? If America,
because
sorry, but this is the deflection. So
let me explain. Don't waste time. Let me just explain.
No. If it makes more money off of the Bahamas, why does that mean what it makes off of Haiti is irrelevant? That doesn't make any sense.
Because we make
$1 million off of this brethren over here, sir, but we make 5 million off of this brethren over here, so therefore the million we make off of this brethren is no matter.
Yeah.
Oh, that can make sense.
Because corporations make more money, more corporations go into a country when that country is stable. You understand? Countries like Haiti and Liberia have less countries like Haiti. Hold on. Countries like
evidence
Haiti.
Sorry. Evidence your point. Substantiate that point for me, please.
I'm trying to talk, you know, man.
No, you're not. Substantiate that point.
Give us metrics.
You said that countries make more, or corporations make more money when the country is stable. Are you able to substantiate that point?
More corporations.
Where are the metrics?
More corporations go into a country that's stable than one that's war-torn. Countries like countries.
That's a different statement. What you said was corporations make more money when a country is stable. Are you able to substantiate that point?
More corporations go into a country. So for instance, yes, if it's one corporation can make money in Haiti and Liberia when it's war-torn. However, if those countries are stable, if those countries are stable, hold on. If those countries are stable, more corporations go in there, and therefore the country GDP rise. Bahamas have more investments than Haiti and Liberia and even Afghanistan and them countries there. Corporations.
How you know that?
Yeah, but the industries are not the same, coffee.
But how does he even know that?
Because the productivity and the GDP is much higher in Bahamas.
One second.
Haiti
no,
that's
you can't say that.
Poor because it doesn't have investment.
One second. Substantiate your point, please. Are you able?
Yeah, please.
Jesus Christ, man! The GDP of Bahamas is 10 times Haiti. Come on, Why would you
It's
contest that?
necessarily that there's
Is
more
that even
corporations.
true? Is that even true? Is that
No,
even true? That's what I'm wondering.
But
Yeah.
GDP is not a member. Is not a
Haiti is
measurement
the
of
poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. Haiti
GDP.
is Haiti the poorest country?
GDP is not
Is
a measurement.
Haiti the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere?
GDP.
You're
Yeah,
the
you
one
can't
supposed to
answer.
be
You can't
proving
answer.
something.
You can't answer it, man. You can't answer it.
Hold on,
Haiti is
please,
the
hold on,
poorest country, but it's such a big
Coffee,
threat
hold
to
on,
United
hold on.
States.
Coffee. Discipline. Yeah. I was speaking. I'm not going to stop saying what I'm saying to answer your question. It's not going to happen. All right. And I ask you a question that you're not answering. GDP is not a measurement of number of corporations. You're telling me that more corporations operate in Bahamas than operate in Haiti. I'm asking you, may be able to substantiate it, and you may be completely correct. I'm asking you, are you able to substantiate
Prove
that?
it.
GDP is a measure of productivity.
What
And
the hell?
corporations and investments contribute to productivity. A
Way by
country
that
like
talking point, boy.
Haiti, a
Way by
country
that
like
talking point.
a country like Haiti,
Coffee.
which is
You're
dirt
giving me
poor.
Coffee. You're giving me, with all due respect, economic theory. I'm asking you to evidence a specific claim. Either you can or you can't, and if you can't, it's fine. There's no shame in not being able to evidence something off the bat. If you can't evidence it, let's say you can't evidence it. Giving me neoliberal economic theory is not an answer to the question I'm asking. Are you able to substantiate the claim at the moment that there are more corporations operating in Bahamas than are operating in Haiti? Are you able to do that?
No, just like how you can't mention none of them.
Okay.
But I said, listen,
Okay.
but I said,
Mention, name them, list them right now. List them right now.
This is the point. When you ask me the question, when you asked me the question, I said, I am not going to do that right about now.
Because you can't do it. You can't do it.
And if that's the case,
I would say, based off productivity, I would say that Domrep and Bahamas have more corporations.
Stop talking. Literally, I just said, if you are unable to say it right now, there is no shame in that. Yeah.
And you can't say it either.
Brethren,
and therefore there's no.
Exactly, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, childish.
So why you bring up the corporations then?
But I really want to address Coffee on this point.
What's the causality? Why you bring up corporations in Haiti?
Bring back down the energy.
Are they causing the instability?
Hold on a second.
I get it. Yeah, you know the valiant defenses of American corporations.
No, man, you can't substantiate.
But I wanted to dismantle those talking points, but
you didn't.
It's fine. Exactly. So it's fine.
Yeah, but Haiti is the poorest country. Who's it a threat?
Okay, but Coffee, can you conceive
barbecue?
It might serve. Can you conceive? But
I've already said. One second. I'm coming to you. I've already said I'm going to organize a whole show where we can break down these dynamics.
Oh, sure, good. Yeah, man.
Yeah. So that's that. There's no problem there.
And you're going to show them how barbecue is a big threat to American military.
We don't have time tonight to go in at the thing. There's a few corporations I could name, but
name them.
We're gonna go in and do a proper thing and break it down. That's what I'm saying right about now. Okay. And
all right. You want to bet right now? Say Bahamas have more than Haiti. You want to bet? Anybody on the panel want to bet right now?
Bro,
we'll bet. Hold
on. But the thing is,
if we research
Don't fall for that. Because the fact of the matter is,
yo, man, betting right now.
Don't fall for that. The fact of the matter is, the claim wasn't even being contested. All that was asked is for you to substantiate it, and you can't right now. That's fine. Yeah, we don't have to go into no silly foolishness over that. That's just the silliness. All right. Oh Lord, have mercy. Imhotep, and then I'm gonna take Buana, and then I close the show. All right. I like the whole I want to have Oman. All right. Got you.
Rude man. Yeah. So in the first place, well, I'm not gonna ask you directly because I don't want you to answer me right now, right? But I hope that you can conceive, Brother Coffee, that it might be able to serve corporations and nation states' interests that certain countries not be in control of their own natural resources. And if the best or most efficient way for them to do that is via fomenting instability in the country, either by shipping in arms or by actively financing militant groups, then these people will do this. It's like, I don't understand how you're please be quiet. Please be quiet. I don't understand how your understanding of geopolitics and foreign policy is divorced from the idea that people might create instability so that it is easier for them to extract resources. If Haiti is a stable, please be quiet. If Haiti is a stable, internally a safe environment which has its own indigenous entrepreneurship and has control of its own natural resources, the cost of whatever natural resources that America is exporting or rather importing from Haiti will necessarily go up. So therefore, in order to secure their interests from this island, which is so-called in their backyard, it serves them to foment instability. I want to read something from the CIA fact book.
Yeah, but your country have oil.
Please be quiet.
Is it unstable?
Please be quiet. Please be quiet.
That don't make no sense.
I mean, the copy. Let the man speak, please. Thank you very much.
All right.
Go ahead.
So from the CIA fact book, an economic overview of Haiti. Small Caribbean island economy and OECS member state, extreme poverty and inflation, enormous income inequality, ongoing civil unrest due to presidential assassination. Now pay attention to this part. US preferential market access, very open to foreign direct investment. Now, do you think that that is a benefit or a detriment to the United States hegemony in the Western Hemisphere? Now, I also don't want us to forget, please be quiet. Please be quiet. I also don't want us to forget that Haiti is the very nation which in the 19th century defeated 4 global empires. These people organized as the brother ShakaRa. Please be quiet. Please be quiet. As the brother ShakaRa was rightly saying earlier, Haiti should be the capital of a Caribbean federation, and a Caribbean federation culturally, let's say, aligned around Haiti and its history of struggle in the Caribbean region would be a dominant force in the. Please be quiet, brother Kofi. Please be quiet. Thank you. Would be a dominant force in the Caribbean region. Now, the idea that it does not serve, I don't know what sort of plural analysis of post-World War geopolitics leads one to assume that the unrest in Haiti is not of benefit to the United States, but I don't know, it beggars belief. It really does.
How is this arrest? Tell me, how is it benefit to America?
Yeah, I want to jump in there as well.
Trinidad have oil, Guyana have oil.
Before you jump in, I don't know. Well, I'll tell you what, Coffee. If this is all the case, then why don't you jump on some pro-American government platforms and tell them, well, why you keep fasting at Haiti for? It now have nothing, it now have not oil, it now not this, it now
I
that.
do.
It's not a threat to you. So, well, name them not. Give me a show where you jump on where the people them are talk about Haiti and justifying America's intrigue in Haiti, and you tell them, say, well, you're not forgetting the people in place and teeth up them things and take with them government and all them things there. Please.
I can't remember right now.
Yeah, I remember. Brother
ShakaRa, not that I want to
I'm listening.
On his feet.
Why is it here? I'm listening. No, we can't say. I know me not. Why?
I'm listening.
Trinidad have oil. Guyana have oil.
Hold on, please. Hold on. Buana.
Yes, sir.
Yes, King. Got you.
Yes, respect to the panel. Respect to the panel.
You there in the Bahamas, isn't it?
That's right. So I listened to the conversation, right?
Don't dox the brother. Don't dox him.
The brother, I appreciate the brothers that like to use my country as an example. I really appreciate it. I appreciate it. But all the brothers on the panel from the Caribbean, why my island have to be the playground? Everybody island is the playground.
Because Bahamas is an upper income country.
He looks up to Bahamas.
It's one that
because
an example. Sorry, it's an example that Coffee likes to use
Because it's a black rich country.
It's not a rich country, but
it's an upper income country.
It's an exception in the Caribbean in
oh,
the
it's an exception. I thought America didn't like exceptions.
Of course.
I thought rich black nations were a threat to America.
Coffee. Stop talking.
Who said that?
All right, I'm answering the brother's question. You don't have to jump in, okay? All right, yeah. So it's the example that Coffee likes to use because of its relation to America and its relative stability in comparison to.
Don't speak for me. I never said that. So, that's not true. Don't speak for me.
I'm speaking for myself. I never.
No. You say I like to use it because X, Y, and Z. I never said that.
Yeah.
I said because Bahamas is an example of a black upper income country, and if anything, that should be a threat to America, not a poor country like Haiti.
According to the CIA, they have major income inequality. According to the CIA, the Bahamas has major income inequality. The fact that the GDP is high and that the country produces the point is it is a tax, even as far as I'm aware, bro. It is a tax even though different industries with different
income inequality. So
we've been over this.
If the per capita income is high, so what if it's
just
equal?
Let ShakaRa speak. Just be quiet.
Sorry. We've been over this
learn
before,
economics and stuff,
which is why GDP is a false notion.
GDP and per capita income.
That's so now we're adding something.
No, those are the metrics.
Okay.
GDP per capita income.
No, can I?
Sorry.
You say
sorry. Then
GDP per capita income.
Then we would have to look at. Well,
that's why it's an upper income country.
Coffee, stop speaking.
Coffee, you're messing up the order, yeah.
Right. Then we'll have to look at population, right, relative, you know what I'm saying, and them kind of things there.
It's all calculated in per capita income. That's what per capita income being, brethren. Yo, if we're going to talk about development, learn about these things.
Isn't population a factor in calculating per capita income?
Yes.
Okay, so why are you challenging what I'm saying?
I should ask you that question. Why are you bringing that up? I already said per capita income and GDP.
Because as you have just said, population is a factor in measuring per capita income. So it's relevant.
Yeah.
Okay. So
but I already said per capita income. So why you being redundant?
Warner, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I almost forgot my train of thought. But no worries. So when the brothers say that Haiti, by the way, the Haitian history and the Bahamian history is somewhat tied, and even the Jamaican history, that's a whole nother conversation. But what I would say is this. When people say that the Haitians or the Haiti should be the enclave in terms of how the black world is looked at, you know, it's supposed to be like this enclave where black people was to get together and look at that because of Haiti's history, and then they always go back to 1804. The question becomes, what is the Haitian people doing right now? Ideologically, are the Haitian people ideologically a threat to America? And when you look at, I don't think so. Maybe because of the Haitians maybe because of the Haitians I deal with on a daily basis. Maybe in terms of, let me finish. Maybe in terms of watching the politics inside of Haiti and who the leadership of these of Haiti is, I wouldn't necessarily say that place is a threat to American ideologies and things of that nature. Not at this point. Maybe you may have people within the country that has a view like views such as yourself, but in terms of critical mass, I don't believe that to be so. Not right now.
Buana, can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
What is the basis for the conclusion that you've come to?
Like I say, it's a personal one. In speaking to and watching the politics of Haiti, in terms of who the leadership, the last person was Sweet Mickey. Sweet Mickey was was one of the biggest fans of U.S. imperialism. You know what I mean? So I mean,
yo, it's a joke. Trust me, it's a big joke.
And sweet Mickey, what like was the a significant movement developed in the country against the presidency of Sweet Mickey.
Who replaced them? Who replaced them? Another person who was a big fan. Who was a big so I'm saying that
you're missing the point.
That's right. That's right.
You're missing the point. It's already been said that by and large, over the last however many years, but especially since the American invasion, the majority of the presidents of Haiti have been neo-colonial puppets,
including Aristide.
But the people have, generally speaking, resisted the neo-colonial puppets. Yes, this is the point that is being made. And if you study the history of Haiti, that will become clear. There has been significant unrest and uprisings and protests and demonstrations in Haiti, mass demonstrations over the last couple years. Yes, we're talking about peaceful mass demonstrations over the last couple years. This is why I'm saying we don't have time to get into the details tonight.
Yes, I understand that, ShakaRa.
Hear me. I'm going to organize a show where we're going to be able to break this down properly. But the fact of the matter is, I'm not, listen, like any other a nation, that you have people that are revolutionary and rebellious, and people that are puppets and subdue themselves to the demands of the neo-colonizer. That exists in Haiti, but
it exists in Jamaica, it exists in the Bahamas, all the Caribbean countries.
I literally just said like everywhere. That's
so why Haiti different? Why Haiti can't get itself together?
Let me chip in on you then. Stop screaming.
Nobody chip in, please. There's a reason why I'm saying this. Nobody chip in, please. All right. So I'm going to organize a show where we can, because I'm saying that what your observation that you just made would need to take into consideration what is happening in terms of the recent history of Haiti, and then you'll be able to come to a more informed conclusion. Okay. Now, Angelo has joined us. All right. I'm gonna give him a go. Everybody want to join at the 11th hour. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. But Angelo, you with us?
Yeah, good night, comrades. Good night, Bretians and sistrins.
Good night, good night.
I was following the earlier part of the discussion when you were talking about the Mau Mau uprising.
Okay.
I left to cook some dinner, came back into this, forgive my French, but this shitstorm of a comment section, man, talking about Haiti and hinting towards, the whole thing about Marxism versus capitalism.
Of course.
But to deal with I'll deal with the first part of the show first.
Yes, sir.
The Mau Mau stuff, or what the show was initially supposed to be about, from my understanding.
Yeah.
And I think I may have mentioned this in the YouTube chat to draw a parallel to the events in Gaza. They have been trying to paint this as a both-sided affair, But like I was saying, if you could cut off food and electricity and medicine to one of those sides, then you can't really say that both sides are equal, and you cannot claim victimhood.
Of course.
And for the past couple of days, I was in conversation with Brother Seth and the other comrades in our group, and well, we recently learned that apparently there's a Jewish enclave in Trinidad, and it got us researching the presence of Jewish people in the Caribbean. Now, I don't know how far back that history goes. It is my understanding that it's as early as the 1600s in Jamaica. In some of the islands, it may have been earlier. But it really has you questioning how deep in our political and economic sphere do these Zionists have their hands in? Because there is an Israeli chain franchise called Superfarm, right? They have branches all over the world. And Trinidad has about 6 franchise locations in Trinidad. And I always thought that Superfarm was a Trinidadian thing, but I recently learned that it's Israeli. And then you have these Israelis living in Trinidad. They arrived at the end of the Second World War. So it seems as if they have integrated into the upper echelons of the bourgeois sphere, but they are not as visible as the whites or the Syrians are. I mean, they're also a smaller group, so I suppose it's easier for them to hide. But the presence of Zionist Jews in the Caribbean is something I would definitely like to research more. So if you have any resources, you could point me in some direction to, you could always
I don't, yeah, and I'm gonna be controversial now.
Yeah.
Right. So bear with me, yeah. But the presence of so the Zionist movement, it doesn't pick up steam until the 1800s, yeah. But the presence of Jews in the Caribbean is tied up with the presence of Europeans in general. So when you find Jews, oftentimes them just called Portuguese, yeah, or Spanish.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah.
Madeira.
Right? So that's so basically it's not, so they weren't always necessarily specifically identified as Jews. And this became very controversial in the 90s because people began to study the role that specifically Jews played in the African enslavement process. Yeah. As well as you study the role that any other group of people played, right? So whether you study the British or the Swedish or people from Netherlands, whatever it is, right? But what the research uncovered was that mostly though people that were specifically Jews were more identified by their nationality than their ethnicity, so to speak. Yeah.
Right.
And then a history that I know less about, which is like when like the Syrians start to come over as well, which is post-colonial. Well, sorry, in the colonial period, and there is a migration that I'm not overly familiar with that may connect more directly with the Zionist movement, if that makes sense. Yeah. So like when at a similar period during which a lot of people begin to migrate to the United States from Europe, some of those people are coming into the Caribbean. So I don't know of a resource, and I'm not sure about this. Tony Martin has a book on the Caribbean history. I'm forgetting the name of the book. Yeah. But I don't know if he deals specifically with the migrations of Jews. But as I've said, that migration is tied up with just nationalities of Europeans in general, if that makes sense. So yeah. I hope
Mine
I've
get
answered your question.
demonetized. That's that massive.
Yeah, Reggie.
Yeah.
Anyway,
as you mentioned, oh sorry.
No, I'm gonna say, but done demonetized already. The market has spoken. The free market, free speech.
Okay.
Yeah,
See,
has already
fine.
dictated that my speech is not conducive to the interest. I'm considered a threat to the interest of Western imperialism at this time, and the Western imperialist market. So that decision done make. Yeah.
All right.
So
All right.
go on, go tell your brethren. But I'm sure you know that already because he was at the meeting where these things were discussed. So yeah,
Elders of Zion meeting. At that meeting that you talk about.
No, the meeting of neoliberal imperialism.
Yeah, like follow the train of conversation, bro.
Yeah. Got Angela, you weren't finished though. You weren't finished. That wasn't your only point.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna mention something briefly about the Syrian migration into the Caribbean. It's also my understanding that they came during the, my timeline might be off, but I think it was sometime during the 1860s. The reason why I remember that is because I read that they were of the Greek Orthodox Christian faith. They were not Muslims.
Yeah.
And this is just my personal hunch, but I think it probably may have had something to do with the Greek War of Independence, being that that part of the world was under Ottoman control. In 1830, I think Greek won independence from the Ottomans. So it could have been some kind of political repression or something that sent them into the British colonies. But I also know that the British brought them in because they wanted to increase the number of light-skinned people on the island as well.
Yep. All them things that were going on. At the same time, the British began to start breaking up the Ottoman Empire as well.
Yes.
Yeah, all kinds of different. Yeah, so there, that makes sense. So yeah, it's definitely something to research. I would yeah, I know what I say. I'm gonna message Imhotep one book. Yeah, where we can give. All right, cause we know you know what I'm saying. Yeah, so, Yeah. So yeah, don't worry about that. All right. So yeah, but it may be a good resource for studying for providing some understanding of certain things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that your only other contribution, Angelo?
The only other thing I'm gonna say, regarding the Haitian discussion, I
Yes, sir.
strongly urge everybody, regardless of where you stand on the issue. I really try not to talk for Kofi, but anyway, I urge everybody to read Black Jacobins. I think CLR James described in depth the complete description of a revolution. I am emphasizing that because he described clearly the bourgeois interests in an independent Haiti. There were black slave masters who wanted Haiti to be independent because they wanted to practice slavery on their terms. To put that into modern context, they wanted to control the free market.
Yes, sir.
So it is easy to see how that class antagonism.
It's a reality. It's a reality. At the same time, in a more modern context, because we talk about threats. One of the threats that Haiti posed in more recent times is that it began to challenge France, which is one of America's biggest allies, in relation to reparatory justice. Because France.
Oh, them challenge them with the military. One
Please
bomb.
be quiet, bro. Please be quiet.
F-16 jets. What? How?
Yes, all of them thing there. The M16 jet of ideology and justice.
Oh, ideology.
And basically what happened was after Haiti abolished slavery in 1804, took a while, 1820s, Britain provided passage for France to sail to Haiti again and surround the island with 300 and something cannon. This was also supported by America, yeah, and basically subdued the nation to the point where it had to pay France reparations for loss of property, yes, for freeing itself after the revolution. And this money, but they had to take out a loan to be able to pay France the money. And this money was being paid up until, I believe, the 1970s. Yeah.
But no, 2014, 2015.
If they had to pay, I mean, they weren't free then. So how they can be a beacon for freedom and they were forced and they had to pay reparations? That not make sense.
This is just indeed.
You are grown ass saying that on the internet, bro.
You're right. You're right.
Well, answer the question now, other grown ass Trini. Answer the question now. How can you be a beacon of freedom and you are forced to pay reparations?
Allow me to finish.
He's trolling.
Allow me to finish.
No, answer it. Answer it.
No, I'm not going to answer it.
If you're free, how you going to pay reparations? That means you weren't really free.
Because I'm speaking and you're interrupting me in defense of America once again. Okay. So the point, where was I up to in the story? Right. So they're paying this reparations to France every year, this debt. Yeah. And what happens is that when Aristide comes in with his movement, he begins to challenge and organize the people to challenge France for this unjust debt that the nation has been lumbered with for over a century. Okay. This becomes a threat to France's standing in geopolitics, yeah, and so America intervenes on behalf of France to oust Aristide from the presidency. This is what is taking place, yeah. So we asked, and we talk about allies. What threat did Haiti serve in relation to America? It's not just America; it's the Western world. Yes, and because the Western world,
Jamaica asked for reparations, Barbados asked for reparations, CARICOM asked for reparations. So what?
Because the Western world,
we're not making any sense.
Because the Western world is allied with each other, when a force such as that rises up with significant support from the masses of the people, that in and of itself represents a threat. Yeah.
So Barbados soon get invaded. What is the threat? I don't understand.
Haiti. You're not gonna understand, bro. You're an ally of
The
America.
GLP administration called for reparations.
I understand. So I'm not
The
your
GL,
understanding. I'm
some,
running down some.
they did not. That's also false.
yo, the
TikTok.
cultural minister
I'm
did call for it. Up nice, come on.
That's false.
I'm explaining some history off the back of what Brother Angelo has brought forward in bringing it up to more modern times.
Yeah, but you don't make no sense.
Fine, and I'm sure it doesn't to you, my brother. That's fine. All right, that's fine. Okay, but I will finish saying what I'm saying, especially because I'm here on the platform. Give thanks. All right. So yeah, so that's another dimension of the threat. Like I said, I wasn't trying to go into that history. All right, because we're gonna organize a show here to break it down where we have time for going at it proper. Yes, we can go in at who was arrested and what did he represent. We can go in at what corporations are operating in and geopolitical interests are operating in Haiti. What is the Clinton Foundation and what purpose does it serve in the people in place?
Not a corporation.
We can go in at nobody said it was a corporation. I don't. You're defending American corporations that are not even under attack. I don't even understand. Yeah, a lot of mercy. You have it bad in a region. Anyway, what was I saying? We can go in Haiti's relationship to the rest of the Caribbean and how the rest of the Caribbean has, generally speaking, failed. Yes, to stand up for the people of Haiti in a similar way that it failed to stand up for the people of Grenada in 1983.
How would they make a difference? We don't have any power.
My brother,
how make a difference?
The difference that they could have made is of no interest to you. Because
tell me how. Make a nice speech. Make a charismatic speech like Michael Manley.
Invading them. That question is for the US.
Yo, come to the real world. The real world. Stop only living a dream.
Pass the mic, Kofi. Pass the mic.
Your interest in that dynamic was served by Ronald Reagan.
Yeah. Just answer the question. How the Caribbean going make us help it?
Worry about your interest. Ronald Reagan serve your interest.
All right. Yeah.
All right. Give thanks. All right, kings and queens, we're gonna wrap up the thing now because, like I said, we have Oman, so we're gonna wrap up the thing right now. All right. So give thanks, African diplomacy, aka Millerman Angelo. Give thanks, Angelo. I'm organizing a session with the brothers and sisters from NJAC soon. Yeah. So
nice man.
Yeah. So make sure you come through for that show that I'm listening. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, brother. Will that be next week Tuesday?
No, we're still seeing up the date. Yeah, we're still
okay. All right.
So stay tuned. All right.
Yeah, man.
I'd love to hear your perspective on that. All right. Give thanks for coming through, King. Much appreciated.
Yeah, no, team, brother.
Yes, I. Coffee. Give thanks as always. You know what I'm saying? You don't know. And Imhotep.
Yeah, man. Respect.
Yeah. All right. Blessings. Yeah. Blessings. Yeah. So we're gonna wrap up the thing now. By the way, family. Big up to Empress Kushti in the building as well. Yeah, once again, I called your name earlier in the show, just to say love for last week and the week before that. More Oman on the show still, because right I know I'm tired of the Mandem voice. You know, see every pure Mandem voice, like the Mandem want to come and debate and all them things there. Want to hear more Oman, yeah. I don't want to go nowhere with no Oman now. Go. All right. So yeah, shout out to the Empress them. Yeah, feel free to click the link. I know things get away sometimes boisterous and I won't even say that because things are mostly mellow upon them show, yeah, still, But we know so the woman like to get boisterous sometimes as well. So I just say it go. But encouraging the clicking of the link from more of the Empress them, yeah. We want to hear your voices in the midst of these shows too. And yeah, give thanks, kings and queens. I extended the reason a little piece because, as I said, recently I've had more like one topic, yeah, for the show. So, and by the way, in relation to what Angelo said earlier, yeah. So this more time when I'm doing the ZIVANAYI show, people are allowed to raise their own topics. Yeah, it's an open house, I just kind of set the tone, and people can have a contribute to what I'm talking about, or they can bring their own things. So I don't mind that so much, as long as you know, the conversation is brought in honesty and respect. Everything is blessed. Okay. So yeah. As I said, we have a show running soon with NJAC, the National Joint Action Committee, coming out of Trinidad, and they are instrumental in the development of the Black Power movement and many of the uprisings, in Trinidad, particularly coming into the 1970s. All right, so we're gonna get some good history and analysis of current politics in Trinidad soon. I'm organizing a show looking at Togo and resistance in Togo. Yeah, another place that America has its intrigue. Look a small place, Togo. We wonder why it's a threat. Why was Ghana a threat? Look a small place, look a small, you know. Why was Ghana a threat to America? You know what I'm saying? Why was the Rastafari movement in Jamaica a threat to America? We could ask all of these questions. Why was the Black Power movement in Trinidad a threat to America? Yeah, you know what I mean? You could ask all them questions there. You know what I mean? So yeah, stay tuned for all of those things. And I have an announcement. Well, I'm not going to make it now still, but there may be some changes to regular schedule programming in the month of December. But closer to time, I'll explain that and the reasons why for, and all of these things. All right, kings and queens. So giving thanks once again to all those who listened, tuned in, all those who commented in the chat, all the silent listeners, them we appreciate and love the all I know. And do stay tuned for more coming from gotkushTV. Tenda Mwade, be thankful unto the Mother, Father, creative life force of the universe. ZIVANAYI Modzimo Mokolo, give praises unto our great ancestors. Abibi Tumi, Abibi Fahodie, African power and African liberation for all African people. Ashe, Ashe, Ashe.
The real reason for all of this hostility is because some perceive that what is happening in Grenada can lead to a new socio-economic and political path of development. They give all kinds of reasons and excuses, some of them credible, some utter rubbish. There's an interesting one that we saw very recently in a secret report of the State Department. I want to tell you about that one, so you can reflect on that one. That secret report made this point, that Grenada is different to Cuba and Nicaragua, and the Grenada Revolution is in one sense even worse, I'm using their language, than the Cuban and Nicaraguan revolutions, because the people of Grenada and the leadership of Grenada speaks English and therefore can communicate directly to the people of the United States. I can see from your applause, sisters and brothers, that you agree with the report. But I want to tell you what that same report also said, and said that also made us very dangerous. And that is that the people of Grenada and the leadership of Grenada are predominantly black. They said that 95% of our population is black, and they had a correct statistic. And if we have 95% of predominantly African origin in our country, then we can have a dangerous appeal to 30 million black people in the United States. Now, that aspect of the report clearly is one of the most sensible ones.
A most historic freedom time. The people of Grenada rose with dignity, rose up from oppression, rose up from iniquity and shame, from the darkness of desecration, shaking up paralysis of corruption, tyranny, violence and subjugation, to shine out before the Caribbean and strike terror into repressive regime and scrupulous politicians, and now trembling in their pants. Stand up, Grenada! Stand up against Grenadian. Don't let nobody come in and dictate your course of action. All of them who oppose your revolution are political bandits just like you in their own island. Fight for your rights. Protect what you have. You fought a good fight. Protect what you have. Don't give in a single inch. Don't retreat, not even a pinch. Don't compromise your revolution. For those scandalous teaching oppressive political scams in the Caribbean. No way, never rise. No way. Constitutionality, but only to expose the hypocrisy. But if you examine the state of affairs in their land, you will find human rights violations, total disregard for the Constitution, countless political persecution, and a wave of sanctioned violence with the blessing of legislative criminals enforced by sadistic gangs. Just like the mongoose one. Stand up, Grenada! Stand up again, Grenadian. Don't let nobody come in and dictate your course of action. All of them who oppose your revolution and political bandits just like they're in their own island. Fight for your rights. Protect what you have. You fought a good fight now. Protect what you have. Don't give in a single inch. Don't retreat, not even a pinch. Don't compromise your revolution. For those scandalous teaching oppressive political scams in the Caribbean. No way, never rise. No way. God bless you, Grenada. May your freedom be blessed with longevity and prosperous your economy. May He grant your leaders wisdom, endurance, and courage to go on. For your road will be long and rugged. Many other problems to be confronted. God against corruption being repeated. May that rude awakening that early dawn be an example to tyrant in other land. No power, no weaponry can extinguish a people's will to be free. Stand up, Grenada! Stand up again, Grenadian. Don't let nobody come in and dictate your course of action. All of them who oppose your revolution are political bandits just like they're in your own island, fight for your rights. Protect what you have, you fought a good fight. Protect what you have, don't give in a single inch. Don't retreat, not even a pinch. Don't compromise your revolution. For those scandalous speaking oppressive political stamps in the Caribbean. No way, never rising.